Welcome everyone to the Pokemon TCG Highlander Gen 3 Form Changes Overview. I am joined today with Ryan Green, one of our veteran players, in fact one of the original players from 2015 along with PJ Wallace and Vance Kelly. Ryan, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, it's good to be here, I guess.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, you've been doing well.
There's a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Be a lot of fun. Let's get right to it. You know, we're going through all the fully evolved Gen 3 Pokemon, so we've got a lot of new players and we got a lot of veteran players, definitely that have been taking a look, and they're excited to form some new strategies and kind of ramp up some old strategies too. So let's get right to it.
Alright.
So first is we got Mega Sceptile, and I'm going to briefly go over what the cards do. I'm going to read the form changes, and then you can regard the regular forms on the left. So Mega Sceptile has an ability called Lightning Rod. All damage done to your Pokemon by your opponent's Pokemon with lightning energy attached to it are done to Mega Sceptile instead of the original target. Then you flip a coin. If heads, reduce all that damage down to 20 done to Mega Sceptile. After Mega Sceptile is attacked by a Pokemon with that energy, you search your deck for any energy and attach it to Mega Sceptile. If you flip tails, you reduce the damage done to Mega Sceptile by 20. So basically, Mega Sceptile becomes a lightning conductor, and this doesn't just count lightning Pokemon. This is specifically Pokemon with lightning energy. So that actually also includes dragon Pokemon that use dragon energy, or any Pokemon that uses Rainbow, Aurora, and there's been like a reprint of multi-energy. So there's actually a lot of energies out there.
Rainbow energy trigger that. That's pretty nuts.
And he's hard-walling because your active Pokemon's not going to take the damage. All of it's going to Mega Sceptile. And you look at regular Sceptile here, and he's got Energy Trans, being able to swiftly move grass energy from your bench to the active. It actually can do a lot of damage pretty fast. I think what else is interesting to consider is that because he's a dragon type, there's the dual typing, which now means that all grass energy is also dragon, which means they're all rainbows. So, Ryan, what do you think?
Yeah, no, this card is pretty wild. There is a... what is it? I don't know if it's a Slowking X or the Slowking that it moves your opponent's energy around.
Slowking, yeah.
Slowking, yeah. Is it just a regular one?
Regular Slowking, yeah.
Yeah, so that card there combos pretty well with that. If your opponent has like any rainbow on the field, you just move it to whatever Pokemon you think they're gonna bash your active with.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, some energy manipulation to alter the board there. That's really good.
There's something funny you can kind of do with that. I like this card. Of course, what is it? Grass has like a lot of evolutions for it, so getting into like the stage 2 is not very difficult.
That's a good point. Yeah, Celebi and Torterra can definitely accelerate evolutions, and then grass has a lot of energy acceleration. Parasect and Celebi, and then Sceptile, kind of is like Hydreigon. You got another dragon type that can just freely move energy around, and dragon is going to be any type of energy attached to a dragon type. So you definitely could do some like Fairy Garden, Altar of the Moon.
Move that to like another dragon, because I know it becomes normal type when you move it to like any other type of Pokemon, but being able to, and that really screws good Pokemon. That's pretty rough.
Yeah, that's the funny part is
awesome.
in the Dragon Mirror match, or like in the
yeah, this is a tech.
In the Mega Sceptile Mirror match, they actually like Lightning Rod against each other if they both have like any grass or dragon energy. So it definitely becomes an interesting game state there. All right, so we're gonna move on. Next, we got Mega Blaziken. This is
starters, it looks like.
This is a classic Highlander Pokemon as well. We've already seen Mega Blaziken get used pretty decently over the years. I know PJ is a big fan of Mega Blaziken. So speed boost. Once during your turn, you may search your discard pile for a fire energy and attach it to Mega Blaziken. pretty straightforward, but then when you regard regular Blaziken, who has Fire Spin for 120, and then Fire Breath, which just guarantees burn every time you use the power, which basically just means plus 20. And then we're not even talking about the Mega Buff yet, so altogether you're kind of slamming for 160 a turn.
Yeah, this is just damage. hard damage.
Pretty good.
Also, Fire has burning energy, which is kind of crazy.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
Get your energy without having to actually discard it sometimes.
Yeah, good point.
It's an EX anyway, so.
Yeah, really good point. And also, Fire Spin isn't specific, so you could run DCE. Or triple XL.
No, or triple XL, even if you get into that. There's a lot of stupid things you can do with this as well. I mean, I guess that's the same way with about any card because of how many things have been printed now that just combo well. But yeah, we'll be going through all that. there's a lot.
Well,
stuff.
I think something to take note is that Fire Dance is such a good bonus if the Pokemon only has like 60-80 HP left.
Oh yeah.
There's so many scenarios where you're not going to need the Fire Spin damage, and so Fire Dance will just like accelerate your board and make it very favorable overall.
Yeah, and honestly, like, we'll get to this in a bit too, but there's some fire support that you've recently released that this is going
Yeah. Well, and the last thing I'll mention is guaranteed burn is very valuable in Highlander. There are a lot of Pokemon that want guaranteed special conditions. Yeah, it's pretty strong. Actually, the way Fire Breath is worded is similar to how Venusaur was updated, where you can choose either Pokemon to be burned. So there are strategies with like Conkeldurr or Mightyena where you want the self-burn. So that's another thing you could do. Okay, so.
Pretty cool card.
Another Highlander classic. Good old.
Yeah. This card, the Mega has not been changed since the birth of this game, which is kind of cool.
Good old.
It needed to be.
Mega Swampert, who's got Swift Swim. If Mega Swampert has any water energy attached to it, Mega Swampert's retreat cost is 0. Whenever you attach a water energy from your hand to Mega Swampert while being your active, you can freely switch Mega Swampert with one of your benched Pokemon. So in Highlander, retreat cost is 0. That's like an auto fix. It's meaning like no retreat, kind of like Flygon's Rainbow Float. So he's basically giving himself a Rainbow Float with a water energy. John Miney actually played Mega Swampert a while back. He definitely enjoyed it. He told me that he likes that Swampert can just freely move water energy up, kind of like Sceptile, but with water now. And Dragoff is actually pretty nuts. It's because it pulls up anyone and does 50, but now with
the Lysander per turn, it's pretty nice.
Yeah, and then but with Mega Swampert, pull up 70, and water's got quite a few spread Pokemon.
No, it does too, and especially like Vaporeon. Like if you just start knocking like low HP stuff out with that, dragging it off with Vaporeon out, then you just keep giving it more HP, and that's just annoying because it already has a lot of HP.
Yeah, I definitely, that's a good point about you could definitely overwhelm your opponent, just Mega Swampert. Maybe you could lead like a Delibird or Glaceon spread, and then Mega Swampert just becomes your cleaner.
Oh yeah, and just chip out all the Pokemon that are dying.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so moving on. All right, so we got Mightyena level X.
Oh yay, this card I was looking forward to.
Yeah, so a little bit of backstory. Before the Hoenn wave was even released, I told Ryan he realized that because every Hoenn Pokemon's getting a form change, that includes Mightyena, and Ryan's played Mightyena a lot. And so just the fact that he's getting a form change, Ryan was like, oh, dang. So
it's a standalone card now, essentially, because like you don't actually need to clutch off of Ariados anymore with its with the Savagery, because you could just keep getting the thing that burns you and heals you for 40 every turn. Of course, he only has 110 HP, so like there's kind of a little bit of a trade-off there. But on the flip side, if you wanted to just leave it as a bench sitter and just keep using Lysander every turn, like, you could do that.
Well, so yeah, let's see. Scavenging Savagery. Once during your turn, you use this power, discard 1 dark energy from either your hand or attached to one of your Pokemon. If you do, search your discard pile for 1 trainer card, show it to your opponent, put it in your hand. And then Pursuit and Plunder for 70. Add 1 supporter and energy from your deck to your hand. If you took a prize last turn, add any 1 additional card to this search. So, the thing about Scavenging Savagery, so Ryan was talking about a little concerned about the HP. Here's something that's interesting. Attached to one of your Pokemon, you could run Skuntank and just keep recycling that Darkness Energy with Skuntank's Poke Power that gets from the discard pile. And then another thing is your trainer cards, you could start accumulating things like Energy Switch and or Super Potion and just keep healing 60 every turn.
Yeah, kind of like, was it Excadrill back in the day?
Yeah, very similar. And then, like you said, add 1 supporter and energy from your deck. You could just grab Lysander, you could grab DCE or Special Dark, and then any 1 additional card if you took a prize. And Mightyena is definitely known to be a sweeper if you let him, so you gotta be careful there. And this is all not even talking about his Cold Feet Pokebody on regular Mightyena. You could, like you mentioned earlier, run Ariados. You could run Venusaur. You could run the Spicy Curry trainer card.
Just make him attack for free all the time.
Yeah, and that includes the new Pursuit and Plunder.
The new Pursuit and Plunder attack, which is insane.
Yeah, so I think we'll be seeing Mightyena level X this year, for sure. Definitely some crazy. And Darkness has a lot of damage ramp combos you could do.
Yeah. That and water got a lot, it looks like.
Alright, moving on.
I'm just gonna throw that out there.
Alright, so Linoone level X. Poke Power, Spring Lock
This card
Speed.
is funny.
I
like this one.
Okay. Once during your turn, you may use this power. If you do, your turn ends. During your opponent's next turn, if any of your opponent's Pokemon attacks, place 6 damage counters on that Pokemon, even if Linoone is knocked out. And then Blazing Bullet, 2 colors for 60. This attack's damage isn't affected by any effects on the defending Pokemon. Discard 1 random card in your opponent's hand. This attack does 10 damage to Linoone. Ryan, what do you think?
So yeah, this card, pretty interesting. This, I think, would just be kind of fun even as like a, in a mill deck.
Oh.
Where you're just trying to, well, use abilities, I guess, to mill your opponent. I guess he is a little bit harder to use than first hand.
You definitely could level up, maybe pull out a switcheroo with the regular Linoone.
The funny thing is, like, this damage counter thing stacks with, like, if you have, like, a Rocky Helmet on something. You just ramp damage that way without really doing much aside from using... I mean, you have to build a pretty heavy ability-based deck. Like, I guess it's really hard not to attack.
Well, so that's the interesting part.
But, like, if you're, like, under special condition, like your active Pokemon is stuck, like, this card is just a good anti to that to some extent.
Okay.
Like a backer, I guess. Like, if you're paralyzed, or you're, can't retreat, or you're, like, confused and you don't want to attack, then you have options just to kind of sit there and wait things out. It's just kind of cool you could just have him sit on the bench and do that, though.
That's a really good point. Yeah, because you can level up free retreat, and then you could just promote a wall like Spiritomb or Wobbuffet. And if you use Spring Lock Speed, you could probably do an emergency attachment. You could build your board while you threaten that.
Oh yeah, like, and the fact that it's really it's like a stage 1, so you can literally get out really easily, especially if you're playing Wally. You can turn 1 this. And just kind of use it as a stall.
And yeah, there's like Koraidon, the dragon Pokemon that you can use his ability or power to not attack. There's definitely a few of these.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, there is stuff like that just
yeah, like that and emergency attachment. There's stuff that you can do.
And that's normal type too, so you can splash those both together without a problem.
And I mean, Blazing Bullet is, a shred move. So that's very reliable for a DCE.
Oh yeah, like if you want to early rush down your opponent and you're not afraid of this thing dying, like it's pretty good too.
Yeah, and then I think Switcheroo is underrated.
A little bit of hand control is always nice to have.
That's true. Well. That's a good point. Well, and control, because you look at regular Linoone sniff out attack, and you know, you're grabbing any one card from the deck and discard pile. So there could be a very control based deck you could run with Linoone here.
Yeah, and also like if you battle compressor like before you use this, I mean you open your entire deck as well.
Yeah, totally. All right, so moving on. So Beautifly, level X. So Gifts of the Breeze. After a Pokemon heals any amount of damage, you may draw one card. And then Silver Scales, 2 for 60. During your opponent's next turn, prevent all effects of an attack, including damage done to Beautifly by Pokemon EX. Search your deck for up to 3 basic energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. Shuffle your deck afterward. Ryan, what do you think?
Soul Rock.
That's so funny because we had another player when this came out in a community Discord, and they're like, "This is ridiculous! This is crazy!" And I was like, "Oh, I want to see how Ryan responds." And there you go. you could take that out of context, and still people would know the context of that clip of you saying that.
Yeah, no, this card seemed neat too. I like it. But yeah, Soul Rock can just dead stop that ability, which I think that's kind of funny.
Yeah, Soul Rock's good.
And especially with the new Soul Rock, which we'll get to. I like that card a lot.
Yeah, the funny part is if they don't have Soul Rock, I mean, just becomes like a very...
Oh yeah, no, this is bottom greed, essentially.
I mean, if you look at base Beautifly with Hunch, if Beautifly's HP hits 60 or less...
Because this isn't a hard once per turn, you can keep dropping heal cards.
Yeah, Potion.
Yeah, that's...
Heals. That just means if you have Mantine or Blissey out, that also counts.
Oh gosh, yeah, and the stadiums.
Or
Pokemon as well.
Freshwater set.
Yeah, it's just... Yeah, you can draw cards off of this if you really wanted to.
Yeah, and then Silver Scales.
And anything anti-EX is just awesome. 3 basic energy cards. Any basic. Oh my gosh, that's actually insane.
Yeah.
And 140 HP, it's tanky too.
Yeah, EX wall.
Yeah, no, this is just a good card in general.
Yeah, build your board. And then what's funny is...
We aren't even talking about the regular Beautifly.
Yeah.
Which Hunch its ability. 40 more damage. So, you know, that Silver Scale is doing 100 damage and attaching 3 basic energy from your deck to any Pokemon.
Yeah.
Any way you like. Like, that's just nuts. And if you need to throw Special Condition on, you have that option too.
Yep. And Hunch.
And then Giga Drain.
Yep.
Combos really well with Hunch.
Yeah. Yep. You got more
and
HP.
And then its own ability, Gift of Breeze, it triggers that as well.
Yes.
You're just, God, this is crazy. Yeah. I'm really looking at these together.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's stronger than I thought it was.
Gotcha. All right, moving on. Dustox level X. So
yeah, this card looked interesting. Poison, I cannot play. Yeah, this is where the supporter lock stuff I was seeing.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of anti-supporter. Yeah, I'm just gonna say there's a lot of anti-supporter printed in like this set. This is like one of the top ones. Because it's really not hard to just poison your opponent's active poison, because you can just drop like Gyarados, and yeah, then there's like anti-retreat cards. Like your opponent can't retreat when they're under special condition. I forget what card that is.
Well, there's also there's Toxapex and Dust Island, which both say...
yeah, when they retreat, the new Pokemon becomes... Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
And this is in its body, by the way.
Yeah.
So you can potentially just infinitely lock your opponent out of supporters with this. And this thing's going to be hard to take down. I mean, 150 HP.
Well, and then Camouflage Pattern, the regular Dustox's Pokebody.
Like this thing needed more. Any damage, yeah, prevent all damage done. Affected by 2. Wow. okay. Yeah. Oh, and its attack. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you
Wow,
basically...
this thing is just nuts.
Yeah, regular Dustox, I think,
I
is...
hope you don't like playing supporter cards, because you won't be.
Yeah. I do like, yeah, the pick and choose of Infectious Inferno. You know, there is a wide range of stadiums. You could grab Burbank City or Full Flame. So definitely you have quite a few options for the stadiums you can grab. And then your opponent must pick 3 different conditions to put on their Pokemon.
You can just pick up the stadium that prevents your opponent, or your opponent's new Pokemon gets poisoned. You can just pick that stadium.
Yeah.
Because it mentions it.
Yeah, you can get Dust Island. Yeah. Now...
Wow, that's just dumb. Okay. Yeah, play this with Ariados.
Yeah, you could.
And your opponent can't play supporters for probably the rest of the game. Especially if you could rush those 2 out together.
And seeing that some people rely off of their one Guzma as also their switch, that could be really good.
Yeah. Because you would have to have a switch card and a stadium anytime you want to get out of this. God, that's a lot. Or a Field Blower. Field Blower helps. Play that at 4 or 3 now.
Well, you know, you could do the Ryan Classic, run 2 to 3 switch. So
yeah. But of course, if they have the stadium, like, switch doesn't help their situation, and especially if you're a supporter lock, you can't drill into those outs. It's just, this is going to be an annoying yeah, that's Dustox.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. All right, next is Ludicolo level X.
Ooh, I like this one. This one's fun.
Yeah.
Let's see, he's got a Lysander in his attack for EXs. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
You get a core set up with Cheerful Dance and hit it for 130.
Yes, yeah.
And it's 1 energy, so, like... Now he's got a 1, 2, and 3 energy attack, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
Got the ability.
Yep.
So this is what I was actually getting at with all the water support that got added.
Okay.
Because there is just a ridiculous amount of ways to get... what is it? Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Just water acceleration, probably. I mean,
yeah, there's quite a bit of that in this game. I really don't know if water actually needs any more acceleration than it already has. It is nice that grass has this option, though. Because grass really didn't have too much from energy excel aside from attacks. At least that weren't on stage 2s. Guess I'm just kind of rambling on about this.
Well, you're actually one of the best players in terms of like accumulating energy lately, because you run a lot of Viridian Forest and Professor's Letter. And
there was a card I was looking at that would just kind of nuts with this.
I think you could time the opening act very well. There's a window of opportunity to swing the game.
You can Viridian Forest, stack up energy in your discard pile, drop this thing, and like see, it's water from the hand.
Yeah, water.
And then like a super energy retrieval, and just grab a bunch of energy from. Also, if you're playing the now even more broken Delcatty Blastoise,
he's really foreshadowing his perception.
And you just get a bunch of energy on the board. Like, it's just always going to be like on the board. But of course, like, I think grass would probably be the one that needs this card the most, and with it being all grass attack anyway, like, it's nice to have. But yeah, I like this card. It seems cool.
Yeah, Break Leg gives control, and then Best Stance can heal off a decent amount. So
yeah, I mean, Ludicolo X is essentially what is it? Kyurem, the Dragon Pokemon's attack, but in an ability instead. with the option of having grass. So that just seems really good.
And he can just pull up a problematic EX pretty early on.
Oh yeah.
All right. On Shiftry level X.
This card grabbed my attention pretty hard.
Okay, go ahead.
Just the fact that it makes everything an EX
and
turns your EXs off is just as a passive ability is just but yeah, and also the Omnious Omen attack is for 1 dark, pretty crazy. Especially if you can just get this into a position to where your opponent is locked into something. You just keep putting these counters on everything, and yeah, it can get pretty nasty pretty quick.
It locked up, and then base Shiftry Seal Off could turn off like Dodrio.
Turn off bodies and things like that, so it's harder to get out of situations.
I mean, Unlucky Win just negates Super Scoop Up.
Yep. Yep.
And then, like you said,
or dual balls or anything like that.
Yep. And then Winds of Yokai, that, like you said, it's just the fact that now you can put a choice band.
Well, there's so much EX hate in this format. Like, it's not hard to base an entire deck around this card as a pilot.
What's a good health sign of the game I've witnessed is that despite all the counters to EXs, people will still turn their Pokemon into EXs because of the benefits of tools and special energy.
Oh yeah.
And so there's this constant fight of anti-EX and playing EX.
So if you build your deck to not turn your stuff into EXs too, and you run into this, it's like, well, shit.
There definitely could be. There are definitely decks that could run non-EX, like you mentioned with Ludicolo. I mean, obviously that's your EX, but you could just run a bunch of basic energy and stuff. I mean, like Torterra.
It's cards like this that make me glad, though, that we have Gardevoir in this format.
Garbodor and Palossand.
Powers and bodies, because some of these powers and bodies are absolutely crazy. Don't underestimate the power of Gardevoir.
Garbodor and Palossand have been seeing more usage. They can just help turn off a lot of Pokebodies and help you with matchups. And we saw with Vance in the last 2 tournaments, he played Mesprit. Mesprit's also really good. So just being able to turn that off.
Yeah, just even for 1 turn, like, it could be pretty vital. Especially if you need to knock that damn thing out. Or whatever the threat is that has that power, and you just need 1 turn to do it.
Also, the thing with Ominous Omen and the counter is it's very similar to Obstagoon. And so, there are Darkness Pokemon like Evil and
that's another thing
Guzzlord.
There's so many more counter additives that you add into this set. Like, it's going to be really fun keeping track of all this stuff.
Well,
and the fact that, like, many of these Pokemon could have multiple different types of counters on them now.
Yeah, that's why, I'm glad I keep my coins around. I think coins are the perfect counters.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, most of the counters are associated with the form changes, so there's not going to be a ton of different ones. But counters got really pushed in Gen 3 in Standard because of like that Lightning Tyranitar EX and stuff. And so I really liked that aspect of the game that they didn't really bring back.
I remember seeing one of the first cards you printed in this game, I think named Coma-O, having that counter effect. Was like one of the first iterations of that to see in Highlander.
I did that because they made a Haxorus in the Plasma Gen 5 era that had Dragon Dance, and it was a really cool attack, but then if you Guzma'd or pulled up a bench, it got erased. And so I was like, I feel like game design wise, they might have not have understood how rapid bench pulling was. And so I was like, well, they did counters back then, and it's like the video game. If you have Como out and you set up, then you get those stats. They have to. It's like fight or flight, in situations like that. All right, so moving on, we got Swellow level X. So he is pretty versatile with his Pokebody. He's kind of just providing that plus 20 buff to whoever.
I just like the fact that this is like a universal damage buff. As a passive. Like, that just seems really good. And it helps with a lot of pivot Pokemon that with their attacks relying on the switching.
Yes,
got Golisopod,
Yeah, he'll do a lot.
Was one of the cards I was looking at with this, just because of how much damage that thing already does for switching. But yeah, this card just seems like really good. Also, the shaking soprano attack just being generically good spread.
Spread with shred.
For low cost and really easy to get out. Stage 1, and you can splash this. Like, that's another thing I like about this. It's just splashable in anything.
Yeah, the spread with shred is really strong, so it bypasses like Cloyster and Manectric trying to protect the bench. And then regular Swellow with Drive Off will disrupt the opponent a lot. And then, I mean, if you, like you said, if you blitz the opponent early game, you could pull off a Focus Energy, and then he might just become a sweeper.
Just start going crazy.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on a second. Does that... Okay, yeah, it's to the defending Pokemon.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, you're not... Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, does that actually stack the
so
spread? That'd be nuts.
Yeah, I see Swellow doing well with Dodrio, Zoroark, and like you said, you know, he's...
Aegislash, honestly.
Oh, yeah, very, very good. Yeah,
if you want to rush out an Aegislash, this is a good way to do it.
Yeah, for sure. Alright. Pelipper level X.
Okay, yeah, this is a neat card.
Yeah, so all your Pokemon with water energy basically have their own rainbow float.
Yep.
There are some bulky water attackers like Regice and Wailord that very much appreciate that. And, you know, TRK was asking me on a TF2 broadcast recently about Apex Delivery, and I clarified to him...
I like the fact that this is actually one of the powerhouse water cards I was thinking of, because you could just literally put down any water Pokemon out of your deck.
Shortcut time.
Like, oh, I want a Blastoise right now?
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds great. Let's just do that.
Yeah.
Also, this gets Delcatty straight out of the deck, too. The fact that this... Is it... Okay, yeah, luckily it's only once. Like, when you play
once
down.
per game, yeah,
Otherwise,
basically.
this would be, like... I mean, it's already pretty freaking strong.
Yeah, you can get out Blastoise, you can get out Slaking, Exploud if you need them for the matchup. You know, water and colorless. Like you said, that's good synergy.
You know, this thing is just like, oh, I need something in this situation, like where you just need like a rush down beater. You need to pull out a utility piece that you're missing. This thing is just God.
and we're just talking stage 2s and stage 1s, but you could just pull out Arceus with 2 different basic energies, and he's ready to do that attack next turn. His first attack gets 20 more for each different energy on him. And then, you know, base Pelipper.
This card's really good.
I actually think base Pelipper is underrated because the fact that Guzzle grabs 3 water for nothing and attaches it to him, and then you're looking at Jet Return, which does 30 more.
If you have like a, what is it, BTS or Wally base deck, like just getting that out turn 1 and being able to do that is absurd. Just because a lot of those support Pokemon like that, the best thing you do is rush them out as fast as you possibly can and get it going. This is one of those cards.
Yeah, regular Pelipper.
If you get an Apex Delivery off of turn 2.
Yeah, turn 2.
And just pull out a stage 2 and potentially just beat your opponent to death like really quick.
You said it. You said Pelipper level X with Blastoise and Delcatty. I mean, Mantine's there too. He's colorless.
Oh yeah, Mantine's an option as well.
Get one of those guys out. Hopefully dig well, and then you could just attack with Pelipper with Jet Return. And we're not even talking about DCE or Triple XL buffing up.
Yeah, no, you were starting with that. But all normal water energy essentially.
Yeah. All right. So move.
This card's insane. Definitely. Ooh, yeah, Gardevoir. There we go.
Yeah, so Gardevoir level X, classic card. We've seen Gardevoir played at the tables.
Psychic Walk, I have a feeling, is going to be seeing a lot more play with this format.
Yes. You're not alone. More people are predicted. Sax has said it too. He says that power locking is underrated, and I've been saying that for a while too. It's because...
Yeah, I think Gardevoir, this... Alakazam's going to see more play, stuff like that. I mean, it has to, because some of these powerhouses they just need to be stopped. And if your opponent builds a whole deck around like whatever that power is, then this can seal a game, like no problem.
Yeah. So with the level X, I mean, teleportation's really good. you know, just a constant switching at your disposal. You combine teleportation with Fairy Connect and Fairy Garden. It's crazy movement. And then Bring Down is just a flat-out KO, and both Fairy and Psychic types have quite a few spread attackers. I mean, Tapu Koko's pretty big.
Yeah.
So it's definitely, I like Gardevoir level X, and yeah, we're talking about Psychic Block, but you know, when you level up, she'll be Fairy and Psychic, so you can use either energy to provide that. And you know, Psychic's got like Mystery Energy and Horror Energy, and then Fairy's got, you know, like Wonder Energy, so there's a lot of protection and punishment, and definitely a lot of versatility.
Like, what are those the Fairy token tools, whatever they are, that prevent was it EX damage?
There's one in Highlander that...
I guess it doesn't matter if you go into the Gardevoir X, you can't use those.
But you could pivot into a wall easily with teleportation. And, you know, like we mentioned earlier, Tapu Koko or Meloetta, they're very good spread attackers, and it just lets Bring Down. Literally, you could just win the game. So.
Yeah, and also, if you can get your opponents, like, they have, like, a 30 HP Pokemon in their discard pile, you can just keep target whistling. Play that and just keep killing.
And there is a Pokemon later...
the lowest HP Pokemon is.
That's a good point. There's a Pokemon later on that is very similar to Target Whistle Bring Down in terms of combos, so
yeah,
we'll cover him
One
in a
of the
bit.
cards I was looking at was kind of nuts. We'll get to eventually.
Okay, so next is Mega Gardevoir. So with Mega Gardevoir as your other option as a form change, you do more damage with Psychic Block, and then all of your colorless energy become Fairy.
Yeah, that card's pretty good, because you can just triple excel if you need to. Like, if you just got this thing out, and you need to combat a threat immediately, that's a good option. Because then triple excel is just like, okay, this thing's starting from literally nothing, or even DCE for that matter. Like, if you only have one energy on it, you're fine.
Yeah,
like if you need something to get out, like if you need to rush Gardevoir, like this is the option.
Rush Gardevoir, do a lot of damage with Psychic Block. Now at this time, Triple Excel is at 1, but it's still a really good card. Yeah,
honestly, that kind of need to happen because Triple Excel
it was
exploited that card to the limits, I think, at this point.
You did a very good job with Corviknight and Furret, and then Sax played Vikavolt with Triple Excel.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I think is a good spot because...
And of course, Charizard's always been good with Triple Excel.
Charizard, yeah, Crobat Break. The thing is that as a one-of, I am looking forward to how intricate players might be with, like, maybe using Special Charge, or, you know, they're gonna have to time their attachments better, just overall. They can't just recklessly Triple Excel. If they only have one in the deck, they might have to wait for, like, an ample opportunity. So
yeah.
Okay, so yeah, Mega Gardevoir, pretty good. Actually, Masquerain level
I
X.
like how you put Triple Excel to 1 and then printed a card like Spinda X.
Oh yeah.
That made me laugh.
We'll get to Spinda level X. So yeah, Masquerain level X.
Because that card's busted.
So whenever your opponent searches their deck for a card and adds that card to their hand, they place it on top of their deck instead. And multiple cards are chosen by their order. And then
that's an interesting effect.
Oh
my gosh, hold on a second.
Well, let's talk about...
No, there's something really dumb you could do in combo with this.
Well, I want to...
And that is Giratina Lost Zone.
Well, okay, so their turn is not ending if they do a supporter or a Pokemon search, but if they can't draw it that same turn, then yes,
you can Giratina Lost Zone that. That's just
Giratina uses Grass Energy, and I was going to point out, regular Masquerain has been doing very well in Highlander lately, because players have recognized the power of Masquerain and Beartic with retreat adders like Jellicent and Ariados and Dragalge, because Dragalge adds 3 when they're poisoned. And so, you know, we've seen some retreat punish decks lately, so, you know, regular Masquerain's been doing really good, and then with her Pokebody that reduces 20 damage just flat out, pretty strong. You promote the level X, and then you look at Stun Dance there, and the just
it's like Empoleon break and an attack, essentially.
Yeah, it's a very good bonus attack if you can get a knockout, but sometimes you can just like red card them and then stun dance. So yeah. yeah.
I mean, sometimes you only need to do it once anyway, but I mean, pivoting that card wouldn't be hard either, so.
Yeah, switch, retreat, stuff like that, for sure. Yeah, I look forward to...
And it's not hard to ramp that 20 damage into, like, more damage if need be. Like, you can build a deck around ramping that attack and doing that.
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah, like Cherim, and there are Pokemon that can, like, definitely add damage, or you could use Spread, use Decidueye, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Alright, so next we got Breloom level X. So Breloom...
Another fun card.
Yeah, so Breloom basically adds double sleep to a Pokemon. You don't flip if the defending Pokemon is an EX. And so you basically are putting EXs to double sleep, and then Bullet Barrage is pretty blunt. It's 7 flips 20 times.
I'm just glad we don't have Hypno Laser right now.
Oh, that's... I mean, that card was considered pretty nuts when it in standard. Like, to this day, we're like, wow, they really made the...
In this format. Especially with this.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I mean, a key thing to note is that you can put your own Pokemon to sleep, and so you could run that wind-up arm tool for, like, Conkeldurr or Mightyena as that special condition.
Or, like, if you want to bash with Snorlax.
Yes, yeah, good point. That's a really good point. Yeah, he's looking to definitely team up with Pokemon like that. I mean, also... I
just realized that is a 7 coin flip attack.
Uh-huh.
Wait, hold. You printed another card recently that goes off of coin flips. God, what is it called?
There's like Duns...
I guess you couldn't play it because...
You're talking about Dunsparce level X?
Yeah.
Well, you could run Sandaconda. He's got a similar coil attack.
Oh, yeah.
There are ways to deter... You could reflip.
It was, Dugtrio X is what I was thinking of. This is why we can't play more than one.
Yep, you get one form change.
Because it's stuff like that is why we can't have that.
Yeah, shoutouts to K Willie. Yeah, K Willie has been pushing Dugtrio level X lately.
Yeah, that really cool deck, by the way.
Yeah, it really was.
Like, he showed me that, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is actually insane!" I didn't realize what we were actually playing.
Yeah, he was running delivery drone. Yeah. The delivery drone to get extra tails is really good. And you know, shout outs to with Breloom, you know, obviously you could run Victini or Glimwood Tangle and just run a strong energy, but also I think Breloom's a little bit underrated because so many people do run Float Stone and Retreat support that homing uppercut's just knocking most things out.
Oh yeah.
I think he's kind of slept on right now is just, you know, homing up.
So this is kind of like the triangle too of weaknesses. Because a lot of your fighting Pokemon are probably going to be weak to water, and a lot of water is weak to grass. So there's that kind of triangle there.
There's some typing coverage.
Yeah.
Because
so this could just be helpful even just in your fighting deck in general, just as a heavy hitter to counteract someone else, or what counters you directly.
Well, there's
minimize some weaknesses in your deck.
Yeah, it's a good point because it's a good point about type coverage. We do have a chart on the Eagles Perch database, so that's I know people have found use for that to cover like typing. And one thing about Breloom is that, you know, there are quite a few.
Also, so there's a Pokemon you added that doubles the healing. I forgot what card that was. Is it the Healy or the tropical Pokemon? Was it called?
Oh, we'll get to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in order.
But with him, Drain Punch being able to.
Oh, good point.
Healing 80 damage for 1 fighting energy.
Yeah, that's
pretty funny.
That is a good point. Yeah. And I was about to say
bring that card up now because it is directly related to this, but we'll get to that because that card also has some really fun applications.
There are some psychic Pokemon that are weak to grass as well, so that's very good typing coverage for your fighting decks.
Just having this as type coverage in general.
And nice. The last thing I'll mention is a lot of psychic decks like to run Mystery Energy or Altar of the Moon, and so their retreat cost is already 0.
Damage.
Yeah. All right, next one.
Oh yeah, this is a fun one.
So yeah, basically,
this card's not actually just nuts. It's got so much health.
Yeah. Yep. He pushes the pressure on the opponent. They basically need to always end with attacking. And
yeah, and that's going to be really hard if you base your deck around making your opponent's attacks cost more. Which, by the way, Slaking.
It's his own. It's
his own, yeah.
Yeah, unobservant.
But like, there are a lot of cards out there that'll increase the attack cost of your opponent. I think Polytoad still has that ability, right?
Well, you could also
decreases.
Decrease, but you could run like Goodra to slow the game down. No acceleration.
Yeah, and if you just want to build like a Crushing Hammer and Hand Spammer based strategy, just remove all your opponent's energies so to make sure like they occasionally miss an attack, because that's really all that needs to happen is if they occasionally miss an attack.
Well,
that being said, this thing does a load of damage by itself, so that ability may not even be necessary. Slaking has to be the active.
It's a nice pressure bonus, and you know,
and this could even be a pivot defense too, like that lethal low thing going into that. Like, say you're playing U-turn Pokemon, you just go into this, and if your opponent can't attack, well...
Yeah, hit and run Pokemon are gonna love this. Like, you know, you could run Donphan. Oh, you know who's really good with this is Excelgor.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's an option. Oh gosh, paralysis.
Yeah, that's... You could probably find a way to stream your Excelgors. There's a lot of options out there, and BTS is one of them. So yeah, you could definitely do that. And then, you know,
I feel like Best Dash did less damage than that before.
A long time ago.
I remember seeing that at 170, but it's been a while since I've looked at regular Slaking.
He was one of the original cards, if you look at the date in 2015. But Best Dash definitely... He's done 170 for quite a while, but... yeah, that's something not to sleep on either. The only thing surviving that is there's a few Pokemon, and they'd have to have defense modifiers. But even in the mirror match, Best Dash is going to knock out another Slaking.
Yeah, also, this is where Gardevoir really helps its own Pokemon even.
Yes.
So if you're building a ability lock deck, like, this is something to really consider because this is splashable.
Mm-hmm.
And if you shut its own ability off, I mean, you can hit basic Pokemon with these attacks. And
yeah,
that's just crazy, because no basic Pokemon, I don't think, in this format is going to be able to survive a Best Dash for sure. And most can't survive a critical move or Strength Quake.
Well, another thing is, like, yeah, with Strength, yeah, the thing about Strength Quake is, yeah, that's just already applying pressure with no powers. So that's another outlet, because there are a few powers, you know, we mentioned Solgaleo and Zoroark, they can't switch now. So
yeah,
that'll...
It's just one of those things that also adds pressure with the ability lock. So even if they shut off, like, Gardevoir for a turn, I mean, if you use Slaking's attack in that same turn, like, I mean, you're still locked out of their powers. And there's a lot of Pokemon out there with some pretty crazy powers that they're pretty reliant. So just being able to have more defense on your own, like ability lock in the game, is just good in general.
Pretty blunt ability power lock is pretty good here, and like you said, he can be played in a lot of different types of decks. So yeah, definitely we'll probably be seeing Slaking this year for sure.
Oh yeah.
All right, next is Ninjask. So first off, I just want to mention that with Speed Chakra, you know, you read it and he does accelerate grass, and if you just read the level X, you're like, well, how do I get grass in the discard pile? It's like, oh well, Wing Buzz actually could do that too, so or Battle Compressor. So
yeah, or Viridian Forest.
Oh, that's a good point. Yep. Yeah, he already has free retreat.
So much, there's so many Pokemon that work well with that card.
Oh yeah, no, you've been the guy that's been pushing Viridian Forest a lot. I think people have caught on more and more. Something with Rescue Vanish, you know, you put one of your Pokemon and all cards attached to your hand, flip a coin of heads.
No, that attack is hilarious, because it is Staraptor's attack for 1 energy, essentially, does damage, But it's any of your opponent's Pokemon.
No, it's one of your Pokemon.
Oh gosh, okay, that's still crazy though.
Yeah, you're kind of. What's funny is you could pick up your own like Corviknight and then play him back down for the Flying Taxi.
There's something. Oh my gosh, I just realized there's something really dumb you could do with this.
I don't know if he's revealing the secrets tonight, folks, but
no, I will. Empoleon with the BTS.
Okay, he's cooking.
Blocking your opponent out of energy for the rest of the damn game.
Classic Ryan dish, and then if you flip heads, Ninjask can't even be hit.
Yeah, no, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, there's also, if you want to build Mill, and you have, what is that card called? Again, Broken Time Space Out.
Mm-hmm.
Going into, Rhyperior. I think that's the card that mills like
4.
5.
Yeah.
4 cards off the top of your opponent's deck.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ninjask has been unnerved to a degree for Mill. It seems like, so that's cool.
Yeah, Wing Buzz. Well, Wing Buzz is good. You know, his base attacks, the regular Ninjask like Circling Dive does good spread, and you get a switch. And then with Parallel Drain, you definitely don't underestimate that Ninjask now has 20 more HP, so Parallel Drain actually can make him even harder to KO. But it heals from any of your Pokemon, so you know that's pretty big too, and that'll help with the speed chakra damage you place. So
yeah, and sometimes just being able to heal one of your bench to full by taking it up or preventing a knockout. But that's just really good in general.
And he's fast, so he's going to be pivoting a lot. Yeah. All right, next. Here we go.
Shedinja.
I had
one.
I had a TF2 broadcast again, the same one where I was answering some questions related to Shedinja.
This might have actually been one of the cards I overlooked because it just didn't like catch as being one of the cards being added to this because I forgot it's in this generation of Pokemon.
Yeah, so Abyssal Curse is as blunt as it is, and it's any time. If you make them discard, like with Malamar, that counts. You know, just stuff like that.
Or like discarding a card out of your opponent's hand and it happening to be a Pokemon.
Yeah, or you mentioned how, you know, Ninjask is really good with mill decks. Well, that includes these type of strategies to get.
Oh wait, no, I did read this card because this is the thing that sends all your opponent's prize cards to the.
It's the top card of your opponent's deck for each remaining prize cards you have, and you attach them to your opponent's Pokemon. Face down, so they don't get to see what it is, and they have to attack to get the cards back.
Okay, different card I was thinking of, but that is pretty hilarious.
Yeah, so, you know, you mentioned earlier Blastoise Delcatty, so imagine that you faded and forgotten and put, like, all 6 on Delcatty, and, like, they have to attack with it now, or they, you know, you put a bunch on a Pokemon that might just be there for mainly support. Imagine running Solgaleo and not Metal Energy, so you just put it all on him.
Yeah, here, this could have all these.
Something to note, there's a lot of cards, and I had to clarify this. Those cards are attached, so all of those rulings of where a Pokemon goes, aka the deck, the discard pile, the lost zone, those cards go there too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So huge disruption. Think about how brutal placing your prize cards are at the start of a game already, and now you're taking cards from the top of their deck. You could literally just take their Prinplup or Monferno in Polion.
Yeah, they wouldn't know if they went to search the thing and it's not in there.
They'd have to search. Yeah, you're not. I mean,
one of those.
So now someone like Sax could be like, oh, guess what I got? You know, and then just attach it. But I think most players aren't going to tell their opponent like what they attach.
This is going to be a hilarious card, honestly.
And speaking of, Sax is the player that pushed the strategy of shortcutting Shedinja, and that's with Rillaboom, because Rillaboom just says play a grass Pokemon, and that counts as Shedinja. So he actually bypassed the Ninjask requirement here, so
that's funny.
Do that too. And one last thing is, he has more HP, and so you can use Hopeless Scream and have even more damage potential there.
Yeah, and then the Wonder Guard lasts longer, essentially.
Lasts longer, and you could just run Exploud or Aegislash, get rid of those weaknesses. So,
yep. Just hope you don't run into ability lock with this card, because it will just die immediately.
It'll be interesting to see like the matchup encounters and stuff. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Damage counter placement still gets around that.
Yes. Yeah. It print of an attack. Well, all effects of an attack. I mean, damage counter placement's an effect.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So next we got Exploud, level X.
A neat card.
Yeah, I think K Willie's happy. He's been playing Exploud.
Distortion counter on all your opponent's Pokemon, and the distortion counter is pretty, like, what are the attacks of like some of the basic Pokemon from back in the day that did like crap ton damage, but if you flipped all tails, like it just is nothing.
Yeah.
Making all your opponent's Pokemon be able to do that is just nuts.
You're as early as you possibly can. You can basically.
There's not a what I think you've maybe only printed like 1 or 2 cards in this whole game that get rid of those counters on board.
Right now, I know
so it's really hard to counteract that.
Like Tentacruel level X interacts with counters, so with Exploud, yeah, all the opponent's current Pokemon in play, they basically have now a 75% chance to land their attack.
Of landing a hit.
Yeah.
So if anything out when you use this, and this isn't like you can just keep doing this. Like if your opponent plays down more Pokemon after you do it.
Yeah. You can't stack distortion counters, but you can definitely add it to new Pokemon if you wanted to.
Yeah.
And then his Pokebody is just a pretty good cost on the opponent. They could easily start running out of trainer cards. So.
And this is just one of those universal, splashable, really good cards you could just throw in anything.
Oh, we've seen Exploud a decent amount. Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Good.
A lot, even just for its ability, to be honest.
Yeah, that
ambient noise has just always been annoying to deal with. There's a reason why that ability is not, or that attack has not been changed since the printing of this card early on.
Which this
is one of the original prints.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Not had to change.
Well, his last attack got changed. It used to be Hyper Beam.
Yeah, his last attack did. But ambient noise has been just as annoying as it was back then as it is now.
Which that's from his like Great Encounters incarnation. That's like heavily influenced from that. So. Alright, so moving on. Hariyama level X.
Oh yeah, this is that card I was
I hope you guys like
really concerned about
sumo wrestling.
How it was worded.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work the way I thought it did.
Yeah, I clarified with Ryan before the show started, it's retreat and not switching. But there is now a strict basically punishment on retreating from both players. So.
Yeah, and this is where like adding attack cost to your opponent's Pokemon can be extremely brutal. If you can manage that. Also, this is one of those cards that makes me really feel like power and ability lock are going to be pushed pretty heavily. Because no one wants to deal with it. But yeah, this card is really insane. Just essentially locking your opponent into whatever they have to put out in the active spots. High HP, fairly high damage. Being fighting, there's a lot of buffs to fighting for damage.
Well, I mean, it's right there. You can play, your like Fighting Stadium or Brooklet Hill.
And your strong energies and all that.
Well, and then regular Hariyama's Pokebody is just locked in. That's for your benefit.
Doesn't move.
Yeah.
Which that, by the way, is going to be a very, very. I think Stadium Lock is going to have to be more prevalent here soon as well, especially with Dustox in the format.
It'll be fun to see.
Also, I'm kind of curious to see how that interaction works, because the attack puts the Stadium out, but Stadiums can't be replaced, so. I'm kind of curious on how that interaction actually works.
The ruling on that is it's saying stadium cards cannot be played to replace another stadium.
Okay, so they wouldn't be able to actually grab the stadium out of their deck essentially and play
it. So I see it as like one day when we're making a simulator and I'm coding it, it's coded as no stadium can be played.
Okay, that's a plus. So there is some counter to Dustox.
There is a lock in there. And then, yeah, Apex Shove is you're putting pressure on the opponent. So pretty strong there for 2 fighting 2. So.
Yeah, this is where I was talking about, like, the energy addition to attacks is going to be pretty brutal.
So
there's
next...
one card in...
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, yes, here we go.
Wait, what were you gonna say?
I can start getting into the Blaziken stuff.
What were you saying? Something about Hariyama with like energy adding? Or...
Yeah, that's where it just becomes really brutal to deal with. Is just with that attack.
Okay.
Because if you can't land an attack, I mean, it just knocks out your Pokemon, and of course, not being able to retreat into something that can without a switch card is just going to be rough. So some Ryan advice, play more Switch. Never hurts.
Switch, yeah, I mean, that's something we say in the Discord a lot, is, you know, Ryan just plays a decent amount of Switch cards, and it's just I mean, it's been in Pokemon since the get-go, it's never been rotated. It's just a good card. So.
Yep. Good utility, always has been, and always will be.
So I want to add another thing. It was a really funny last, week or so of broadcast, because people were joining and talking about the update, and one of the things was actually our good friend Lasagna. He looked at it and he was like, oh my gosh, Delcatty level X looks awesome, you know, just stuff like that.
Yeah,
like,
no, the card looks great, like the art on it.
Well, no, he actually was saying like crazy, like he read the effects and like...
Yeah, no, the card is crazy.
And I'm happy for him. I know he likes Delcatty, and I was explaining to him, I was like, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, Ryan, about, you know how there's a EX, anti-EX arms race, there is a Energy Excel, anti-Energy Excel arms race, and Delcatty is basically like, oh, do you want to keep using Moltres and Rayquaza? Thanks, you know?
Yeah, I'll get more energy, that's fine. Not like water really needs any more support for energy attachment, but like it's there.
Well,
we'll
man, it's...
as well, because a card he printed that I am concerned about.
Well, the thing is,
that involves water.
I know you're talking about Blastoise Delcatty, but yeah, Delcatty level X, like...
No, but this just makes not only, like, Blaziken a thing even more to an extent, but, like, now Delcatty has even more utility with even more types. Just in general.
Well, and it's, yeah, it's just one energy.
Attachment from the deck, this card pile is in almost every deck now.
I mean, you're grabbing strong energies, you're grabbing special metal, you know, that's...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Solgaleo loves this card, you know? And then, yeah, the first Pokebody, the Pokebody, is pretty distinct in the fact that now people are going to go through the database and see which Pokemon just have colorless energy in their cost.
Yeah, and this is like any type of Pokemon.
Like,
just... like, if you don't want to play a full... I don't know how... Highlander is with like just playing a stage 2 and not playing the pre-evolutions, but like that, if that's a thing in this game, which...
you are allowed to play the fully evolved without the pre-evolutions, but you know, with Delcatty you have to have the Pokemon in play.
Oh, okay, so it's any Pokemon in play.
You're gonna have to, yeah, actually play those Pokemon down.
Okay, yeah, that's still really good. And is it both Pokemon, or is it just...
it says if a Pokemon in play. So yeah, your opponent...
Yes, that's both. Okay,
your opponent was running like Arceus.
Yeah, something backfire real bad.
Yeah. I mean, you know, you talked about some triple Excel attackers, or you could run... Here's something interesting. I'll point this out now. So if your opponent had Furret, you could copy Baton Pass, but you can't copy Kenai, because Kenai has no colorless in its cost. It has no energy.
Oh yeah, the no cost attack.
So I'm going to clarify that now. But yeah, I think a player like you're going to keep your eye out for stuff you can copy, and you know, I bet you're probably going to be playing Blastoise again. Yeah, you're probably going to be playing Blastoise Delcatty this year, and you're probably going to be scouting your opponent's like options, and oh yeah, I'll do my own Sky Spear, you know, something like that. And then, yeah, Copycat Zeal just ramps up more energy. And so what, psychologically, we'll see if that ever slows down your opponent. Are they going to not Rayquaza speed gain now, you know?
Yeah.
All right.
Gosh, that is a...
Also, last thing is that
nice little buffer.
more HP means more potential damage for Power Heal, so...
Yeah, and also more likely Delcatty's just going to stick on the field.
I mean, I've seen
That's
you...
always just nice.
I've literally seen you attack with Delcatty, like with rear kick.
Yeah, with the power attack by putting damage counters on it.
Yeah.
I use the power more often now.
Because that's how Highlander's designed. These Pokemon aren't supposed to be like just one note. They're supposed to be like just strong overall. And so I've seen, you know, if players dismiss
taking a lot of games with at the very end, because running out of attackers, but still having Delcatty and power healing for like a gajillion.
Yeah, exactly, for one. All right, next we got Mega Sableye, classic. People have been playing Sableye a decent amount. Last year I saw him a lot. I mean, you know, impersonate for your one Steven's advice that you can play and grab any 3 cards.
Sableye is good, and with Shuffle Armor, always will be.
And now the Mega, I actually think is still underrated a bit, and so the reason is that some people aren't playing Sableye with a lot of Aggro Dark, but if you're playing Aggro Darkness, I mean, you could just Special Darkness, Mega, and then now Overconfident is...
Mega Sableye is low-key really good.
Yeah.
But it is extremely situational. If you are in the position where you're just going to try and annihilate your opponent in like 2 to 3 turns because they're having issues with getting basic Pokemon out, or like they don't have supporters, like their supporter drought early on, like this is a good option to go into and just rush your opponent out of the game. But it's a double-edged sword. If you do that, they do get out of it. You've used your Mega for the game.
What I also like is that with Magic Bounce, you know, we've already gone through some crazy effects just in this video. And so there are matchups where, what if they have Dustox out? And now you have Mega Sableye, who will stop Dustox's 0 energy attack because they can use it, but now Magic Bounce is going to affect Dustox. So now you ask the Dustox level X player, hey, what special conditions do you want? Yeah,
like playing, oh gosh, Absol Mega in the video game.
Yeah, which we will get to. Yeah, we'll get to Mega Absol. So yeah, Sableye's been played a lot. Mega Sableye is definitely underrated. You've played Yveltal Spread. We've seen Obstagoon decks. I think he fits right into those strategies. So
yeah, even just for impersonate, just as a utility, even is just really good generic support.
And then last thing I'll mention is if you can't run Mega Sableye, you could also just grab Klefki for a quick Overconfident. It's very similar to back in the day with like Gyarados decks.
And Meko got a freaking level X in this.
Or the SP decks that ran Sableye, like the Honchkrow G Sableye deck, they would run Expert Belt, some of them, and they would get that extra 20 HP and just Overconfident for basically anyone that has 70 HP or below. Stuff. So you can do something similar with Mega Sableye or Klefki.
Days of Oopsie Donk.
All right, next. So we got Mega Mawile. I've played Mawile lately a few times. There's been a
classic.
There's been a few players that actually have caught eye on what Mawile can do lately because they've been asking me questions about, is there any way to make my opponent play Pokemon? I'm like, oh yeah, Mawile. And like, so K. Willie used to play Machamp Metagross a lot. And so when you look at a Pokemon like Mawile that just forces your opponent to play Pokemon onto their bench as a power on a basic, could be pretty strong.
Yeah, especially when you go back and Giant Stump them right after.
Giant Stump them for sure. Chomp Chomp Hold is very good locking, but also like on a basic 1 fairy for 20, and then you can Mega Buff for 40, and then you have huge power. So you're doing 60 for 1 energy with Mega Mawile. And then obviously, like with Swallow, you heal as much as you do, damage-wise.
Yes, this is like one of those cards where it's really good to keep Mawile healed. And with that other Pokemon's a Mega. But like keeping its HP full all times, really good. Yeah. Not having a lot of HP in this case is actually kind of a good thing, because it doesn't take a lot to heal it back to full if it survives.
I will say, 80, 90 HP is around the average of a fully evolved Pokemon. but we also need to look at the context of the game state. And I've played against you with Mawile, and I usually tend to rush with Mega Mawile. So in the early game, the average HP, if people are trying to evolve, could be 60, 70. And so
early on, like, this card is really good.
And so, okay, moving on. Mega Aggron. I want to give a quick shout outs to Ryan. Has
the OG.
Ryan has not only praised the card, but he has told me he enjoys the artwork on these cards. So I make sure when we're putting in art to make sure to get just great art overall. Which reminds me, I was going to make this announcement at the end. I'll do that too. There is a current PSA in the description. There are 3 Pokemon in this video that I cannot find the artists of. I came across the art, and I really want to credit them because they've all done an amazing job. Players like Ryan have told me that they really appreciate all the diverse art in the game. And so I will link in the description the 3 Pokemon that if you find that art and you find the artist, please let me know. I really want to give them credit there. So anyway, Aggron, another OG. Back in the day, Vance was pushing a Moltres Zapdos Rayquaza deck, and players like Ryan were like, okay. And so he played Aggron.
That's cute.
Just like Aggron himself, very...
This is a universal wall.
ferocious Pokemon.
And honestly, all you have to do is play 1 Metal Energy in your entire deck.
Okay.
And get it into your discard pile. And then you heads up like that.
Oh, that's a good point. That's actually a really good
this for a long time with this card.
That's a really good. I actually even wasn't thinking about that. Like, you could, and we've had new players recognize that you don't have to run a ton of basic energy of one type. You can diversify your colors here. And so with Aggron, that's a really good point. You could literally just battle compress your 1 metal.
Yeah, something like that, or get into the discard pile with Viridian Forest. Just, make sure heads up is always doing the max damage, and then he has a mega buff.
And then, I'm sure it's happened.
110 damage for 2 colorless with 150 HP Pokemon. Yeah, this thing is just absurd, especially since it can't be, with basic Pokemon not being able to use powers or bodies.
Or attack.
When it's active, or attack when it's active. It's just crazy. This card is always has been, always will be, like, really, really good.
Yeah, I love the niche scenario where you do shuffle in your 1 or 2 metal energy and then you draw it to Metal Fang to start like healing or mill. And then filter can come in clutch against like fire decks, but also the last part of filter, he can't be affected by trainer cards. Like they really want to like enhanced hammer or like try to disrupt Aggron in some way. And so filter basically just stops stuff like that. Like you talked about playing low metal counts, but if you're playing like an aggro metal deck, the fact that your special metal energies cannot be enhanced hammered is pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, so definitely Aggron classic Pokemon. Mega Medicham. So we got Pure Power. If Mega Medicham has no damage counters and special energy attached to it, double Mega Medicham's attack damage done to your opponent's Pokemon after applying weakness and resistance. This also means before... This is after Mega Buff 2 and Strong Energy. So after all that, then Pure Power doubles it all. And then, Wise Aura. I'm just going to say this. I think, as you mentioned about like Gardevoir, I think Wise Aura and just Power Lock in general is pretty underrated.
Yeah, Power Lock I think is going to be huge in the upcoming format with all these new cards.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the interesting part about Mega Medicham is, there's ways like with Gigalith that you could quickly move those fighting energy or energy up to Mega Medicham and just start hitting a ton with chakra points. Like you're probably one-shotting most Pokemon with Pure Power. If they do damage Mega Medicham, I mean, look at Force Palm. If they do like 60 damage, that's a free 60 anywhere you want.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
This is like a really good early game attacker.
Oh, okay.
Like just being able to rush down your opponent really quick. I mean, it's a fighting in a DCE, and you can get that Pure Power going like right off the bat.
Yeah.
With no damage counters on it, like walling into this thing and then throw it out there.
That's a good point. Well, if you're going second, you get 2 attachments. And think about like Regirock Stark Mountain or like Hippowdon Stark Mountain.
Oh yeah, and fighting's got a fair amount of energy excel as well if you need that.
And then,
go ahead. Oh, you're good.
Well, You mentioned early game. You made me just realize that means that you're playing N or Iono and making them draw 6.
Oh yeah, no, you can forcing your opponent to draw cards before smashing them with that attack.
And
I mean, not really. You're probably not going to have to deal with anything that has like over 140 HP on turn 1, but for turn 2. But in case you do, you can hit those numbers.
And if they don't one-shot Medicham, he's probably one-shotting someone on your bench, on average. So, yeah, great Pokemon. All right, moving on.
Yeah, good Pokemon.
Speaking of,
another classic.
Yeah, Mega Manectric. So shout-outs to Michael Torres. He's been playing Manectric most of his Highlander career now. He's been definitely improving a lot with the strategy. Regular Manectric, really good bench protection. And then, Second Bite just starts stacking. There's a lot of lightning Pokemon that spread, like Zapdos and Pincurchin. And then Chain Lightning also does a lot of spread. And then with Mega Manectric, you're kind of pivoting with Intimidate. You could, do your form change, place the Intimidation counter, and then freely retreat out, which can really swing matchups. So.
Yeah, no, this card is just really good. It's nice to have bench protection, especially now, because there's so much spread in this format.
Yeah, you make a good point. This is part of the goal of Highlander, is make every Pokemon strong. What's really cool is that there really isn't a dead archetype. You got your spread, you got tank, disruption.
No dead archetype.
And so as a good deck builder, you need to ask yourself, what type of coverage do I need? You need to be receptive to what are my threats, and Manectric, kind of like when you played him in 2010, is just really good at stopping a lot of heavy bench snipes. So
yeah, for sure.
Alright, next is we got Plusle level X. So another Pokemon that Michael plays, and now will be playing the form change.
Yep. This card is... Gosh, the battery break.
Yeah, it pretty blunt, so...
Yeah, early on, that can be pretty brutal. But it is also only an 80 HP level X, but at the same time, you can turn 1 this thing.
Turn 1, and then retreat, and now positive ignition is just kind of going ham when your opponent wants to draw cards. And then, regular Plusle with plus charge. Vance just played Plusle, and like I said, Michael's been playing him a lot. He just gets you 2 basic energy after a knockout. And so...
Yeah, and say, you start, a Plusle, and you don't have a supporter in your hand.
Oh.
And you just go directly into the X and just hope you draw in.
Whoa, well,
that situation you're in.
That's a good point. I didn't even think of that, because you could level up Greedy Draw as your attack, and now you have positive ignition ready as well. That's a swing back. If you somehow start a dead opener, which can happen, you can sometimes quote brick in Highlander from a 13 opener. You might have no supporter. You could start Plusle and then level up Greedy.
This is a great anti-break card.
Now, you can't form change on the first turn, but like you said, turn 2, that's still really good.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, here's the last thing I'll mention. Plusle's really nimble in recycling. You run Rescue Stretcher or Rescue Carrier. Who's not to say that late game, you Rescue Stretcher Plusle level up Battery Break?
Just throw that out of nowhere.
Yeah, 4 spread to all power. Because mid-late game, there's probably going to be a few Pokemon with powers on the board, on average. So,
yeah, it's got utility in every part of the game, which is pretty cool.
All right, so we got Minun. And, with Negative Dynamo, whenever your opponent has to discard any amount of cards from their hand as an effect, they must discard 1 more, and it's at random after the effect. And then whenever your opponent discards cards from the top of their deck, you add 1 more.
This card is really funny.
And then Circuit Crash is like Plusle, but for Pokebodies. Do you want to talk about coverage? You could run both.
Yeah.
And then
a lot of utility.
Definitely take note of regular Minun's Pokebody, your turn doesn't end when you attack. So,
oh my gosh!
Remember earlier when we talked about Linoone level X? So
hold on, you can actually use trainer cards in between the attack of this one and the next one, right?
Yeah, if you level up, you still get.
So like you can pivot this thing after circuit crashing.
Circuit cash switch. Yep. Yeah, he's cooking. He's cooking mid-video. But so, like, you know, earlier, Linoone level X and Ludicolo, they both have powers that end your turn. But with Minun, you could do minus energy or electro shower and then use their powers and probably switch if you want.
Yeah, no, this is nuts, honestly.
Yeah, I look forward to what you guys do.
The negative dynamo just works while it's chilling on the bench. This is a passive effect. Really good. Really good.
Well, that includes Charon. If they play their own Charon and they want that extra card, they're gonna have to discard an additional card. And just stuff like that. And there's quite a few Pokemon that just say, oh, discard a card from the opponent's hand, so now it's gonna start stacking. So
yeah, that card is crazy, honestly.
Alright, so this guy has been being played a lot. Steven and Vance have been playing him this year a lot. Now he's got a level X. Go ahead, Ryan, if you have anything to say.
Honestly, just regular Volbeat in general with light conduct is just really good.
Though I will say,
before it had the level X.
I think you weren't there yet at the last tournament. Vance did say he underestimated the power of giving his opponent a supporter, and he actually told me leading into the tournament, he was like, man, he's like, I wish light conduct didn't give my opponent a supporter, but he was basically like, I understand, like the game design, like the balance. I was like, oh yeah,
some sort of balance, otherwise that'd just be broken.
Yeah,
explain that.
If you get your Guzma back, your opponent will probably want to get that back too at times. Yeah. So yeah, with Light Tinker, once during your turn, attach a trainer card from your hand to Volbeat. Whenever your opponent plays, evolves, or form changes, you may use the effect of the attached trainer for this power, and then discard it.
That is very bizarre.
It's very open-ended power. Yeah, oh, he's cooking.
Oh man, that is...
You could run like Repel or Enhanced Hammer or Catcher and just wait. You know, you could level up.
And just surprise your opponent. It's kind of like Bayonet, I guess.
Well, you can use it on the bench, so you could level up and switch, and then start loading up with Light Tinker, and now you just react like accordingly.
Yeah. How does this work with Chaos Gem? Is my question.
Well, you attach the trainer, so it's not being played, and then the effect of the trainer is being used as the power, so you're bypassing all of it.
Okay, so it bypasses it being a trainer card.
Yeah. Essentially. Now, there's some interesting one-ofs you could play, and one of the big ones is Toy Catcher. And so the second they play a basic that's 50 HP or below, you could just...
This is now your active.
Yeah. And then Glow and Ignite, I actually just think has pretty good potential. You could just start doing 90 damage.
So I noticed how this says any trainer card, right?
Yeah.
So you can put like a head ringer on this thing, essentially.
You attach a trainer card. I mean, yes. So now technically head ringer is attached to Volbeat. Yeah, you could do like a tool, like you could Light Tinker, you know, something like that. That is an interesting scenario there. Now the way Light Tinker works is you use the, you know, obviously the effect for the power.
Yeah.
And the way Light Tinker is worded, it means like trainer cards. So it's not like, oh, freely attach Floatstone. So I'll go ahead and I'll update that. That's a good question.
Okay.
It just means trainer, non-tools. So I will go ahead and make sure that's clarified, that it's not like tools and stuff like that.
Surprise, it's Rocky Helmet.
yeah, exactly. Every turn you start stacking Rocky Helmet on that. So, but yeah, Volbeat, already pretty strong Pokemon. We've been seeing a lot this year, so we got a level X. Next is Illumise.
Alright. I don't think I read into this one. I might have skimmed over it. But, let's see here.
Yeah, so once during your opponent's turn after they play a supporter from their hand, before the effect activates, you can search your deck for a grass energy attached to one of your Pokemon. And
okay,
then
so that's just really good energy attachment.
Buzz Beating is retaliate for 1 grass energy. So,
yeah, that's pretty decent.
it's very similar to retaliate. And then
pretty straightforward card.
We had a player, our local Yu-Gi-Oh player, P. Murphy. He won the Yu-Gi-Oh Monthly the other day, and he's been actually pushing Illumise in grass decks. He ran Beedrill Jump Bluff, and I think he really opened the eyes of some players of how strong regular Illumise is with like set conduct, because it's just like, you know, about every other turn is just a free search. And then obviously you look at like Firefly Scent, and if they have an ability, they're getting heavily punished. And then Pester is just really good. There's a lot of Pokemon that inflict special conditions like Ariados and Salazzle, so definitely a lot of damage potential here, along with your now energy acceleration when you level up. So
yeah, and that's just universal energy excel.
I mean,
it specifically says for grass energy, but like this is just really good generic energy excel if your deck isn't missing it.
And I mean, hey, your opponent doesn't have to play a supporter, so.
No.
All right, next is Swalot level X.
Yeah, this was an interesting one.
So Vance kind of was one of the big advocates of Swalot years ago. He played Swalot a lot because, you know, he ran a lot of Moltres Rayquaza, and Moltres, while doing a lot of damage, still will crash a lot of energy away. And so he needed a good, sturdy attacker for no energy, and so he was running Swalot. Now with the level X, you can just openly discard a tool or technical machine and then heal 40. And then if you do that, he can't be affected by effects of attacks and abilities at the start of next turn. So just definitely a good way to keep like tanking and like hinder your opponent from trying to disrupt Swalot. And then Tearing Bite's pretty straightforward. It's you know, a shred for 60.
Yeah, shred for 2 energy and 60 damage.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
And now with 120
Rock.
with 120 HP, now Swallow Up will probably activate
even
more.
It has a
on
higher
average.
damage cap too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Damage Roller also has a higher damage cap.
Oh yeah. Until the defending opponent has the same remain. Yeah, well, that damage roller is more about when his HP is really low.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But still, yeah, he'll survive longer on average, so he can do that. All right, next is Mega Sharpedo. And yeah, we've been seeing actually Sharpedo a decent amount lately. We've been seeing some Darkness decks, and you know, Mega Sharpedo, regular Sharpedo for Crunch, 1 Darkness is already pretty good damage. We're not even talking about Special Dark. And then, you know, Rough Skin is a built-in Rocky Helmet. Energy Shark is Disruption. And now you're doing a Mega Evolution for 30 more damage because of Strong Jaw. And then that damage can't be reduced. So pretty blunt, pretty brute force.
I've splashed this into a lot of dark decks just because of how much utility it has.
Oh, I mean, look at the free retreat. You're pivoting a Pokemon with Rocky Helmet and possible Crushing Hammer.
Yeah, no, this card is really good, and it always kind of has been. Definitely situational, but still really, really good utility.
He's pretty strong, and then yeah, Crunch can start really stacking if your opponent doesn't do some counterplay. Alright, so next, we got Wailord level X.
Oh god, this card.
Got a few players excited for this guy.
Because it needed more HP. The fact that this attack, it has a 1 energy attack that is incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, searching your deck for any water Pokemon. Also, Pelipper does this too.
Yeah.
A lot of water options, just for getting anything out you want at any point of time, and just yeah.
I mean, as early as turn 2, and I don't see the average Pokemon knocking out Wailord level X on turn 2 or 3.
Yeah, no. The fact that his Ocean Faring is you can just keep doing it.
Yeah.
You can build your entire board off of this one card and have it completely set up by like turn 5 or turn 6. And what the heck is your opponent gonna do about it? Because this thing has 210 HP. No, this card's crazy. I was looking at this and doing some theory crafting.
Okay.
Won't talk too much about that.
Okay. Master Chef levels. Okay, I'm not sharing the cookbook. That's all right. We'll see it at the tables.
This card is something to definitely look at because it is nuts.
Well, you said early game.
Is nothing to scoff at either.
Yeah.
But yeah, just 2 damage counters, at minimum 1, because there's so many Pokemon in this game that set damage based off of even having 1 damage counter on your Pokemon.
Oh, good point.
It sets up a lot of attacks. Yeah, Wayward X, just crazy in general.
Yeah, the spread's great, and now with more HP, Swallow Up will potentially do more on average. Like you said, early game, but it's not just you're pressuring with Ocean Faring. If they do not knock out Wailord, and like I mentioned, you start doing Swallow Up or Giant Wave. I mean, you could. There are water Pokemon definitely you could start grabbing that will really help out Wailord. I always think about like what my go-to right now.
You can always pull out a Vaporeon and just start knocking stuff out with Wailord.
Vaporeon, but if people are asking me like what's a good place to start right now, I mean, depends on your deck. But for me, let's say I'm playing Wailord level X at the January monthly. I'd like to play him with Swampert. Just get out my Swampert with 2 water, and now you can wash out those water to your active.
Yeah.
Just.
Dang, that's crazy.
All right, next is Mega Camerupt. Very underrated Pokemon. Because people have looked into.
This is also one of the OTs.
Yeah, the Energy Mill decks like Basculegion, Octillery, they're very strong overall. Darmanitan. The thing that Mega Camerupt has is just like strong, guaranteed high damage. You're not really having to worry about flips, and Fire often likes having energy in the discard. And then the thing about Eruption is you discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck as well. So there are ways.
Yeah, and I'm going to be talking about Fire Mill here soon when we get a couple other cards. Because I think Fire Mill is going to really be a threat to be reckoned with.
Well, that's a good point because, Mill hasn't won a tournament yet, and people have made really good Mill decks, but I think one thing I've noticed is that Mill does not prepare a counter sweeper. And so if the opponent sets up their big attacker,
now.
you could literally run Mega Camerupt and just start doing Eruption for just a ton of damage. You could just run regular Camerupt too. 30 plus 30. And so you mentioned Delcatty and Mantine. You could run Mallow. You could find ways to put energy on top of your deck, but you're also milling the opponent. And then obviously Explosive Jet, burning energy and all these other methods that you could just start really stacking up damage. And then, of course, Mega Camerupt, basically, it's your choice, but yeah, you can ignore the effect listed and then just do the straight damage increased by 30. And then, obviously, with the Mega Buff.
And you don't need to.
Yeah, Sure Force is basically like, if you want to do Eruption for 80 straight out without the mill, you can do that. You could do that with Explosive Jet, too. So Mega Camerupt, but if you don't want to, you still get a Mega Buff. And I do want to mention, this is something that isn't talked about a lot right now. That Pokebody on Camerupt is also on Zangoose and Steelix, and it's very underrated. You promote these big attackers. Look how many special condition decks have come out in Highlander lately. And so
quite a few.
The fact that Magma Armor just stops all of that, and it's you're basically declaring like, can you deal with Mega Camerupt,
Yeah.
So
he'll have some pretty good niche utility coming up. I would definitely expect.
All right, next we got Torkoal level X. So Torkoal's actually been played a lot too lately. A lot of fire decks like leading with Torkoal because White Smoke basically stops disruption to your bench, and then you can Flame Ball the energy to your bench.
Yeah, and even Black Suit is a 1 energy attacker on a basic Pokemon. Like, that makes it a good starter as well. Especially since it just immediately burns your opponent. So it's minimum 30 damage and a 50% on paralysis.
Mm-hmm. And now you're...
it's just a really good starter in general, just for that.
Yeah, and then by turn 2 you could level X. Steam Engine is now a +1 every time the opponent plays a supporter. And then with Coal Nesting, you're kind of setting up Torkoal. I mean, he's already your lead in a lot of matchups that you're trying to push.
Yeah, I mean, you can get it running with Steam Engine and then keep moving the energy to the next Pokemon when it dies or gets ready to die. Because eventually a lot of these early on form changes, they have a lot of utility, but they do die pretty quick in most cases. But this one actually prepares for that, which is really cool.
It'll be interesting because there are definitely a lot of ways that you could stop the opponent from KOing Pokemon like Torkoal level X, and then...
I mean, his own Coal Nesting attack helped with that even.
Yeah, just like one defender could swing the game, because if you get like 2 Coal Nestings, now he's taking -40. And with White Smoke, the opponent can't even Lysander around it. They have to deal with Torkoal for the most part.
Yeah, it's like, this is a really good anti-setup card.
Okay, I like that word.
I guess is a good way to put it.
Yeah, and then when he finally goes down, you've probably accumulated a ton of fire energy. So
yeah, either in play or at least on board.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So next, Grumpig level X. So I mentioned earlier with about you mentioned the Flare Whistle strategy, and Grumpig already kind of does that with head walking. He revives a Pokemon, and then you put damage counters until they only have 30 HP left. So that's regular Grumpig, and we're not talking about even running Pokemon like Metagross and Lunatone yet to just KO them. So,
yeah.
But now we got Grumpig level X.
Hand lock.
So you're basically throwing a monkey wrench in the whole game, and you and your opponent basically now are reshuffling every start of the turn and getting a new hand of 3. But the thing is, with Grumpig's power, you can search your deck for a Psychic Energy, show it to your opponent. If you added it this way, place 1 damage counter on any one Pokemon in play. So, I mean, because Grumpig level X is there, you're kind of getting the 4-card hand while your opponent gets the 3-card hand, because one of those cards will be a Psychic Energy. And then you're just slowly...
That's really nice. That means you won't be having to worry about not getting an energy attachment per turn.
Yeah, and you're slowly placing... Right, and slowly placing damage counters. He has Psychic Lock, and now that you're placing 1 damage counter a turn, I mean, you could add that with Pokemon like Gengar or like Decidueye, and now you're really adding a bunch of spread damage, all while you're doing Psychic Lock, all while your opponent keeps getting reshuffled into a 3-card hand.
Yeah.
So, and then I like his first attack, regular Grumpig. I think there are times where your opponent has a big Pokemon with like 4 energy, and now they don't even know if they want to flip or not. So,
yeah, Grumpig is interesting.
I
think this will definitely be seeing play.
Yeah, there's a few players I could see be playing this soon. So. All right, next is Spinda level X.
This is the card that I have been actually one of my most concerned about. And I just looked in the chat recently, and I saw Steven post what I was thinking of. Being able to Arceus for no energy. What do you play this with, like freaking Psyduck and auto-confuse your opponent every turn?
There's like the Galvantula that like will like start causing confusion if they like retreat, or like I think it's if they switch. If they switch, they're confused. I'm pretty sure Koga's Trap, the supporter, just guarantees it
as well.
And then Amoonguss, when you evolve into Amoonguss, I'm pretty sure they're no, not Amoonguss. That is asleep and poisoned. I'm pretty sure double poison. There is a tool card. There's like the bell, the ringing bell, that is just if they hit into it, they're confused. So there's a few Pokemon, and then obviously there's Malamar, which just says if the Pokemon's confused, it'll always be Tails if they attack. So we've seen people play confusion-based decks before. And here's the thing, you don't have to run confusion-based, but there's definitely a lot of support. I mean, people already ran Spinda because he's a good opener, but he's also a good spread attacker. Yeah. And so now you have the option to level up and grab any 2 cards you want while leaving the opponent confused.
Yeah, no, this card is pretty crazy. This makes me glad that we have not only ability lock, but also ways to prevent special conditions from even happening.
Mega camera ups. Yeah, he's. Oh
yeah.
My gosh. Okay, yeah. Well, Steven mentioned, like Ryan said, you could play this with like Arceus. You could play this with Slaking.
Slaking, Tornadus.
That's true. Yeah.
Gosh, there's so many options with normal types. Like you can Blissey for no energy. Get Double Edge if you just need to do a gajillion damage.
You know who has... Okay, so what's interesting is for people to realize it's not just your colorless Pokemon have no attack cost as in filling out the colorless costs. It's anything. And so Regigigas's Crush Grip is now a 0 attack.
Oh, no.
Which usually costs a fighting a metal.
I was looking at this because I was looking at my barrel and stuff like that. Because I'm like, wait, these things don't require energy cost.
Yeah.
I completely missed over Regigigas. Oh my god.
Yeah, he's another Pokemon like Slaking that if you're running Poke Body Lock, they actually benefit from it. But yeah, and here, yeah, you could do that. So
yeah, that's nuts.
All right, next.
This card is just nuts.
Got a classic. I actually want to talk real quick about just this story I always think about all the time. Is at our local league, Ryan got a Rising Rivals pack, and you can go ahead and say the rest, Ryan. What happened?
I was looking for a common card.
Yeah.
And no one had it, and I needed to play that day. And, what was it, Sean or something was like, watch him pull the Flygon level X and not get the card he was looking at.
Oh, it was Caleb. Caleb said, watch him pull Flygon. No, he said, if you pull Flygon level X, throw it on the floor. And you're a man of your word, and you pulled Flygon level X.
I saw this card in the pack, I threw it on the floor.
And this is like a $50, $60 card at the time. Yeah. So anyway...
build decks around this card when it came out.
Yeah, I always think about that kind of story, and Flygon level X has been strong ever since he got brought into Highlander. I mean, he was strong when he was in Standard overall. He's, Dragon type here, and, Extreme Attack is very versatile. So,
very versatile.
Go ahead.
It's a good thing you can't run this with Shiftry X.
Yeah, isn't it funny that your mind tries to jump to these crazy combos, but then you recognize that the rules of the game won't let you do multiple form changes, so... Yep, Flygon's good. Rainbow Float is really strong. Sandwall
is sometimes really clutch.
I will say, and you know this, and I love when new players recognize how strong Wind Erosion is in Highlander because it's so singleton-based. Oh, you just got my Cosmog and my Solgaleo deck.
People don't realize how many cards that's going out of the deck.
Yeah, between turns.
Just with it being out there.
Well, remember the old school, but remember the old Standard deck? It was just like, people were running Flygon level X with a ton of different attackers like Donphan Prime. And so Rainbow Float was granting Donphan a free retreat. And so you could just go back into Flygon. But in Highlander, you could still do that. And now, Highlander Donphan has Rapid Spin. So there definitely could be plays where you hit and run. Or, as you know, in Standard, but also in Highlander, Excelgor is very good with Flygon. And you could deck and cover, go right into Flygon level X and Wind Erosion while they're paralyzed and poisoned. So, because Ryan definitely has played against Flygon Excelgor before. Sounded like a good match at Nationals, so... We are moving on. Cacturn level X.
Oh yeah, this is another one of those I was looking at. Holy... Yeah, so I was thinking this card is absolutely busted with, gosh, what is it called? The giant tree thing that's dragon type. That supporter walks your opponent.
The dragon type supporter,
Executor.
Oh, Alone Executor with they have to discard a supporter to play a supporter.
Okay, yeah, so it's not full supporter.
There's also Stoutland, yeah. Stoutland, they have to discard a supporter to play a supporter while he's active.
Okay. Okay, so this isn't as strong as I thought it was, but it's still ballistic. Because this isn't the only card that you could play together that adds more attack cost. The fact is that this card works when it's on the bench.
Uh-huh.
Can be stacked with something like, what is it called? I was looking through all these cards, and I thought I had all this together, but I don't. But there are cards that compound with this pretty heavily while they are active. There's attacks I was looking at that increase your opponent's attack cost as well. So you can make your opponent, any of your opponent's attack cost, like 5+ really easily. And at that point, they just don't play the game.
I just think of like Grimmsnarl, the fairy Pokemon, that default makes them have to pay like 2 more colorless.
Yeah, an extra 2 for their costs.
Yeah.
No, this is going to make this really stupid, I think.
Yeah, you can, like you said, you can level up Retreat and then just keep them around. That's just pressure. Because if you red card them...
Oh, yeah, no, this is crazy with Executor. Because if you can swap hands with your opponent, get them down to 1 card, and have this out, like, the chance of them drawing a supporter is slim.
That's a good point.
But if you could also supporter walk your opponent where they have to play 2 supporters per turn, then they're just never going to be able to attack.
I think Stoutland and Executor will be really good. With Cacturne,
yeah.
For sure.
Cacturne, Executor, Stoutland.
Well, and then his attack, just the 20 spread for a Darkness Energy.
Yep, it's pretty good.
And then it's actually also takeout. So there's.
Oh my god! I didn't even see that.
Yeah, so you 20 spread to all your opponent's bases.
That part is the defending Pokemon, not on the spread effect.
Yeah.
Absolutely nuts.
But if the opponent has,
it's still nuts.
Yeah.
But like that this card is just crazy in general.
Level up, now you have the threat of takeout spread, which the spread is really good with regular Cacturne Spike Wound.
Yeah.
And, regular...
being able to have a target for that at all times, essentially.
And then, definitely I hope players don't brush off...
Especially when they can't freaking attack.
Can't attack, and then Curse Glare locks out their, like, DCEs and Rainbows. And
gosh, yeah, this card is just brutal. Yeah, have fun. I'm gonna be playing this.
All right, next. All right, Mega Altaria. So Altaria is a pretty classic Pokemon. In Highlander.
This card is one of those that also hasn't changed throughout the years. It's just always been pretty decent.
I definitely updated. The last attack used to be Perish Song in an update.
Oh yeah,
a while
used
back.
To have Perish Song. That's right.
It has Nocturne of Apocalypse, which definitely provides pressure on the opponent. Puts pressure. Fight Song is just really good for your Dragon and Colorless Pokemon, but that also applies for Altaria. So now Midnight Eyes is doing 40. If you Mega Evolve, you have dual typing, so you're doing 1 energy for 60. And then Pixelate says if you have at least 1 Fairy Energy attached to any of your Pokemon, this Pokemon does not need any energy to use any of its attacks. If this Pokemon has at least 1 Fairy Energy attached to it, its attacks do 10 more, and then 20 more from the Mega Buff. Now, with dual typing, Dragon Energy already provides that Fairy, so...
Yeah, this just has a lot of versatility as far as like what you could play it in.
Also, just matchups. You could swap over to Fairy type, and the dragons that are weak to Fairy and not Dragon now have to panic oftentimes.
Yeah, I mean, just a pretty good card overall for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was big in Standard, but Garchomp and Altaria is still a good combo in this format. So, all right. Next, we got Zangoose level X. So Zangoose is one of the original cards that never has been changed, along with Gengar and Machamp.
Attack is pretty wild, combined with his first attack. Also, keep an eye on this card because it has the ability where it cannot be affected by special conditions.
Yeah.
Probably gonna come up. This might see play even just because of that. And it's a universal splash. Critical edge counter. Yeah, this card really only needs one of those. But I guess if you could get this rolling, because it is a basic, you can rush this out.
Probably attach a special metal or something.
Turn 2, yeah. And just get critical edge rolling as soon as possible.
Which critical edge works with regular Zangoose's attacks too, if you need to do that. So you can invite and strike with a counter.
Yeah, and do a snipe damage. Pretty heavy snipe.
Yeah, Zangoose is like I said, him, Gengar, and Machamp are the OG cards that have never been changed. They've just been really solid throughout the game. And actually, Zangoose is unchanged basically from his Platinum iteration, aside from...
Hold on, Pete. Isn't there a freaking supporter card you printed that says all your coin flips are heads for the turn?
I don't make custom supporters, but there is like Will that says your first coin flip is heads.
Oh, first coin flip. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if there was a supporter that did all of.
I mean, you could run like Santa Conda.
Yeah.
And like
Conda.
Yeah. But yeah, Oblivion Laceration. The fact that you just like throw them into the lost zone.
Lost cards out of your opponent's hand is just terrifying.
Yeah, and it's random.
Combining this with like Giratina is kind of along the same lines. It's just like, please don't hit my stage 1s or my stage 2s or my basics or anything.
I think the sleeper strategy, or I think the strategy that's very underrated and Pokemon right now is Gumshoes, who is the stage 1 colorless, who says every time a card is decided randomly in the hand on the opponent, you get to choose.
Oh my gosh.
So you get out your Gumshoes ASAP, and now every time you Oblivion Laceration, you choose what gets lost zone.
No, that's actually crazy.
That includes red carding them and then just taking their supporter away or something.
No. Or like a stage 1 or stage 2 so they can't actually play that Pokemon.
Nice Combuskin, yeah. Yeah, that's
playing that now.
That's the brutal part, is when you lost zone a line, like Torchic or someone. And... Alright, so next, Seviper level X. We've seen Seviper lately. You know, Trevor Atkins played him, and Cameron played him. Actually, pretty universal Pokebody. Yeah, the Pokebody just flat out says your Psychic Pokemon do 30 more damage if the defending Pokemon's poisoned.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Ariados.
Oh yeah, Venom Blend has definitely a high skill ceiling, but I think there will be some players that will definitely push it. It's obviously you could run.
I mean Delcatty.
Well, here's the thing: you keep revealing until you get the energy.
Well, okay.
And so Viper level X can kind of become like an energy bank, and you could just run energy switch or find other methods to move the energy around. So you can start accelerating pretty fast for those other types. And
yeah, it's honestly pretty good. And that's another thing. It's a bench ability. You can just go and do it, put it back on the bench. It's nice and sort of safe, I guess.
Well, and then you mentioned Ariados or like Venusaur, and that's the thing is now Seviper's doing more damage, and so you could promote Seviper, do Tail Blade for 40 before poison, Bite and Escape, yeah, and then if you're running Burbank City, and Wheezing,
that's like 70, 80 damage for one freaking energy.
80, and they can't play trainers.
And it's a pivot.
or pivot. Yeah, you could pivot or do a trainer lock.
Yeah, trainer lock.
And then Venom Blend, those 3 energies, obviously they coincide with, like, it's kind of, you know, a nod to also Blend energy in terms of
the blend typing.
Which also, you know, is really good with Roserade and Badoo. And so you could run kind of like a good special energy control deck with stuff like Roserade if you wanted to. That's definitely a good initial combo. So, all right, next.
This is probably definitely going to see play.
Oh, yeah. So Viper's already been seeing play. It's just, she's just a really good lead already. And
yeah, now it has, like, early rush down.
Yeah, Poison just got plus 30. You know, it's like...
yeah, that's a lot.
Alrighty, so Lunatone.
Lunatone, here's some of the... Oh, gosh. Yeah, Lunatone. Like, it wasn't already good before it got its X. Because this card just had a crap ton of utility even before then. And also now it can survive its own self-destruct, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it can survive self-destruct, that's true.
Let's see. The deck Eclipse. So that's like any draw, right?
Yeah, Cynthia's now 5.
That's pretty good.
You end them to 3, and now it's 2. Red card is 3.
Ooh, yeah, no, this is actually kind of brutal. Also, this is another one of those funny things with Executor you can pull off. Use your entire hand and then Lunatone then if you can't get down to completely 0.
Yeah, oh yeah, you could, yeah, definitely run that. And then, yeah, Lunar Cycle is very similar to Heatran level X, but now for Psychic and Darkness Pokemon.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So you could level up, try to get him to the bench. He's got Free Retreat, so level up, Free Retreat. And now Lunar Cycle is, you know, some of those Psychic Darkness Pokemon, they will discard. I mean, there's Darkness Moltres, who has Moltres' attack, but now for Darkness energy.
Oh, yeah.
So you could Lunar Cycle those Darkness energy back on the Moltres. And now, pair that with Gravity Change, and you're probably taking some pretty fast knockdowns.
So how does this work with Dark Arceus?
Well, Arceus...
Because they go to the Lost Zone, right?
Well, Arceus only changes types if he's leveled up, so you can't have 2 level ups.
Okay, I thought the alternate, like, you could play any of the types.
No, there's just colorless Arceus. I know, like...
Okay.
Yeah, just colorless Arceus. Yeah, the type change, you'd have to do a level up.
Gotcha. So you can't play, like, a Dark Arceus?
No, that's a throwback. I remember a long time ago, you know, we were looking... Definitely, there was, in the early phases of Highlander, looking into, like, Arceus and Silvally.
Yeah, when you were just starting to do, like, alternate types, you literally had an alternate type for Arceus on every single type.
But what paid off is that I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do this, and then it was like, oh, with form changes, you know, that's like in the video game, they do change form. So for Arceus, he can now change his type, and as we're about to see soon, Pokemon like Cast Form will change their type. So, all right, next. Good old Solrock level X.
Yay. Yeah, I was looking at this card.
Yeah, he's pretty blunt.
Yep. More HP is always nice. Fighting has a very wide variety of resistances, so that's kind of just fun. Yeah, no, this card's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then Helio Comet is, I mean, it's just good energy acceleration.
Yeah, just good energy accel.
Can actually just start pressuring damage. I mean, strong energy and stuff like that if you need to. I mean,
yeah, and it's got good survivability and also like heal block on the normal one.
Heal block,
it's going to come out quite a bit.
I am looking forward to. It might be you. I could see it being you. Someone's gonna go. Someone's gonna go on the fighting type page on the database, and just at the bottom, you know how there's the type matchup chart, and someone is gonna like really push like key resistances. And now since they're all minus 40, it really and stone energy, you're just swinging these minus 50.
The Regirock.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah.
Three.
So yeah, Solrock. I mean, I'll mention it. Solrock is like one of Ryan's favorite Pokemon in Highlander, probably just in general.
Honestly, both Lunatone and Solrock.
Yeah, Ryan's a big fan of Solrock and Lunatone in general as Pokemon, and I've seen him play both a lot. Solar Generator, just good fetching. Heal blocking.
I've always liked Solrock, literally just for like its utility. It's a great starting card.
Well, in mid-late game, you could Soul Charge, yeah, and hit for weakness. Because you've played him in decks where you're like, oh, that thing's weak to fighting. You know, I'm going to do at least 40. Yeah. Alright, so next, Whiscash level X. So we got Mud Bomb. Once during your turn, you can discard a fighting energy and put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. And then Catfish Festival. Place a River Dance counter on this Pokemon. For each River Dance counter, their attacks do 60 more damage to the defending Pokemon, and this Pokemon has 3 less than its retreat cost.
Yeah, so this card is funny, I'll say.
Yeah.
And it's not really like fighting needed damage, but now it has it. Yeah, I like this card. This is what it is, honestly.
Well, you mentioned Regirock, and there's Hippowdon. There are ways to just cycle your fighting energy, and now that Mud Bomb is a free 20 damage on the board, and the fact that if you Catfish Festival once, you can free retreat, and you're threatening with plus 60. I mean, if you look at Earthquake on regular Whiscash...
I'm glad this says 60 damage to defending Pokemon specifically. Because otherwise, Magnitude would be probably the most broken deck in this game.
I do like base Magnitude with a bench protector, you know, like Manectric or Cloyster.
Yeah.
I also just like Earthquake. I actually think Earthquake decks are underrated. I've played a bit because both Gallade and Gigalith get stronger for every damage counter on your bench.
Yeah, same with the Zekrom, Reshiram as well. Any Outragers.
Ooh, that's true.
Boros.
You could play Whiscash Dragons. But, I mean, I just like Fury, and now that Whiscash has 20 more HP if you level up, your opponent's gonna try to one-shot. If they don't, they're gonna probably get knocked out.
Yeah, no, this card's pretty good.
Yeah. Alright, next, Crawdaunt level X.
Another card I was kind of looking at.
We have... Yeah, we've actually had a few people. Crawdaunt level X has been brought up a little bit already. Pretty blunt Pokemon in terms of the form change. You know, with Dam Breaker, you're just doing more damage for every Dark and Water energy on all your benched Pokemon, and both those types.
Yeah, the fact that it turns, gosh, I mean, Darkness energy is plus 20 now with that card out.
And then, I mean, this includes Dragon energy. So Hydreigon loves stuff like that, you know, Naganadel.
Yeah, no, this card's pretty crazy.
And then Crush Cut is a shred.
This eliminates damage cap for Dark. That alone is really good. And not to mention, like, its splashback attack for ability that's always had is always good.
Very good.
Yeah, being able to return one of your opponent's Pokemon, like, by choice, by the way. If they have 5 or more out, it's just wild.
Well, early last year, Steven pushed Crawdaunt, and you know, shoutouts to him. He played him with like Honchkrow and Obstagoon, and
yeah, you can throw in Target Whistle if they are unwilling to give you more Pokemon.
Yeah, and Steven was pushing,
and it's funny because you can shuffle in your opponent's their stage, their their X, right?
May choose one of them, return. Yeah, if they form change and bench it.
Shuffle in your opponent's form change with this. That's just funny.
They're going to have to be careful for sure. And yeah, with Honchkrow, you're reviving Pokemon from the discard. You could also run Mawile, as mentioned earlier, to force them to play from the hand.
Yep.
I mean, back then, you know, Steven was pushing Crawdaunt when it was listed at 4. But even after the patch, Crawdaunt at 5.
Yeah, that's right. It was originally listed at 4.
But even now, Crawdaunt's really strong.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, Power Blow is very straightforward, and that could start stacking. We mentioned Hydreigon. Do you know mid-late game how many times you'd want to just get out Crawdaunt and Hydreigon all of your darkness to Power Blow for just a ton. You could do that. And then, as I mentioned, Crush Cut is a shred attack. If the defending Pokemon gets knocked out, you place 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So you could be setting up for a stream of KOs there.
Yeah, this card's pretty good.
Yeah. Next is Claydol level X.
Yay, this one.
So
I actually really like this.
I actually couldn't tell if you were sarcastic.
Could rewind and freaking Ancient Curse in the same turn, knock your opponent all the way down to stage 2, down to basic. But before you do that, Foundation Creation. That way anything is just down to 80.
Yeah, it's fixed.
Yeah, no, this is actually just insane. Because it's easy to pull out, it's almost universally splashable aside from its Foundation Creation attack, which really you don't necessarily need because of how much utility Claydol already has. But Foundation Creation is a really nice bonus.
It will technically cost a colorless because of Claydol's Pokebody.
Yeah.
But,
oh, yeah, that's right, because it is evolved.
But even with, I guess you could run Garbodor, or you could try to shut off your own Pokebodies. We've been talking about a lot of Garbodor Palossand strategies. You could do that,
and
but
there's even a stadium that specifically shuts down. No, I think that one shuts down powers.
No, there are stadiums that shut off like EX abilities, just flat out EX abilities. I think it's Power Plant, and that would shut off Primal Pull, and then you could Foundation Creation for 1.
Oh, this is one of those cards that is also an additive to freaking just a regular Claydol, just an additive to Cacturn.
Oh.
I hope you like not attacking.
Well, the funny part is I couldn't tell if you were sarcastic or not when you said yay, because Vance pushed this card a lot because he was running, No,
I mean, it makes sense because a lot of it is like basic rush.
Yeah, the funny part, what I love seeing is that because my approach to Highlander was make every Pokemon strong, they're definitely like, you couldn't just, like in Black and White in a lot of formats, you couldn't literally just play basic Pokemon and pub stomp the opponent. And so Vance had to get crafty about, okay, if I'm pushing a lot of basic Pokemon in my deck, I'm going to have to find other ways to like help in the matchups. And yeah, Claydol and Archeops were very good there.
Yeah, Claydol has always been good, and now it's just even better.
I'm definitely waiting for someone to Foundation Creation a bunch of 140 HP Stage 2s, so... Alright. Next is Credilli level X. So, this is actually the older Credilli on the left. His weakness needs to be metal, but other than that, this is the updated one. Yeah, with Half-Life Surge, you're basically getting a buff counter to one of your Pokemon.
Yeah, so it's 10 damage, 10 more HP, and 10 damage for damage reduction.
Yeah,
it's pretty decent for like just playing it down.
And it's to it's to any of your Pokemon, not just Credilli.
Yeah. No, that card, it's got a pretty good power. I like that.
Yeah, because you can Life Explosion, give a prize, get out of stage 2, and then give that stage 2 the counter.
Yeah, you could definitely do that. This is a good tank builder.
Yeah, you could definitely Half-Life Surge your own Credilli, and then now Feeding Flourish does 50 and your Healing 50 as well. So,
yeah, pretty decent.
Okay, Armaldo level X. So Trench Hunt is very similar to Metagross. You're just now flipping a coin of heads. You just get to pull up the benched Pokemon.
Yeah, that's always been a really good effect.
And then Spirefall is just kind of crazy with a bunch of coin flips, 50 to whoever you flip heads on the opponent. And you regard regular Armaldo with Rock Blast. You're basically setting...
Oh yeah, Armald X is literally Dragonite.
Very similar to Dragonite. Yeah, so with Spirefall, you're kind of like, we call it marked for death in games like TF2, where if you get marked, the next like shot or two, you're done. And so with Spire Fall, you're kind of setting up for like just Rock Blast clean plays, like cleanups. And then obviously regard Armaldo's Fossil Armor. If they try to do 40 or less, it's just not going to be doing a lot of damage overall. And like you mentioned earlier, you could level up and then just switch. And now Armaldo's pulling up the bench every now and then on average. So.
Yep. And if you have Metagross with it, I mean, 75% chance to Lysander your opponent every turn, that's pretty good.
Yeah, with like Machamp and Rampardos. Yeah. Pretty strong. And then I just love Vortex Chop. Because there's a very key, like, your opponent better be careful, and they better check their resistances. Because if they, I mean, some people default to, like, Tornadus to try to wall fighting Pokemon, but now Tornadus is going to get knocked out, so. Alright, next, Milotic level X. So, yeah, with...
Oh, yeah, this is another card I was looking at.
Yeah, with Refresh Filter, you get to choose your draw count. So that's going to be really big with Aqua Mirage. You kind of need to make the call there. You kind of like, do I get the full 3? But if I find out I can't play all 3, I lose Aqua Mirage. But guess what? You could also use Diving Butterfly and just freely switch out Milotic for later. So
yeah, I mean, oh yeah, that actually does help, having that Diving Butterfly attack. Because one of the problems is if you knock out your opponent, you have to take a prize card, I found out. And that becomes problematic because it shuts off its own Aqua Mirage. So having the ability to finish your opponent with Butterfly and then switching back in is a pretty nice thing to have.
40, 30 attachment, like, yeah, it looks like you're ready to go.
Yeah.
And, yeah, more HP, so that's very good for Milotic, excuse me. And then, yeah, once you get Milotic level X to the bench, now you're just getting draw, like, for your water energy.
Yeah, even as, like, a passive, like, even if you don't use it for a specific goal, like, now it has universal utility as well.
Alright, so next, so there are 3 level X's for Cast Form. We'll go over all of them. Here is Rainy Cast Form. So all your Water and Colors Pokemon have no retreat costs. This includes Regigigas. This includes Articuno. So there you go. And then Downpour Dredge. Reveal the top 10 cards of your deck. Attach as many water energies revealed to any of your Pokemon. For each energy attached this way, place double the amount of total damage counters on your opponent's EX in any way you want.
Yeah, and if you could just find ways to stack as many water energy on top of your deck as possible, this card is just absolutely insane.
I guess we should cover regular Cast Form now as we go into the form changes, because you could definitely get some stadiums in the discard for weather reading. Go ahead, Ryan. I just wanted to bring that up. Yeah.
Oh, man. This is opening Pandora's box. Like, just the Cast Forms in general are doing that.
The weather wave. The my dad's gonna be very busy when he shows up the Highlander events. He would play Cast Form. My dad, we've said that, Dad, when are you gonna play? And he would play like thunderous Cast Form. So it's like so a weather deck for sure. But yeah, with Temperament, I mean, we've seen players like Jate play Cast Form lately, and with Temperament, you can discard Broken Time Space, and you're the only one that gets that benefit.
Yep.
And then Weather Force is good spread. You get to just search for a bunch of cards, put it in your hand, and obviously once you hit 4 or more stadiums in the discard, all your attack costs are 0. That includes the level X's, so.
Yeah, that's actually nuts. Especially considering how much attack or how much energy requirement these have. But wow, there's the one Cast Form in particular I'm going to talk about quite a bit.
Alright, we are going to go to the next one. We got Snowy Cast Form. If any of your water or colorless Pokemon would be damaged by an attack, reduce that damage by 10. Also prevent all effects of an attack, excluding damage done to those Pokemon. And then Snow Squall, recharge 1 energy to Cast Form, 30 spread to all your opponent's Pokemon.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say this, like, Cast Form right now has probably the most utility out of any Pokemon printed in this format.
Ooh, there's Ryan's take.
It's just everything combined with this card, because everything that this card has is Pandora's box. Yeah, there's just so much you could do with this.
He's telling K. Willie to play Machamp, but the problem is that Machamp actually can't use Takeout on the Snow form because of that Pokeball.
Oh, because the ability, yeah.
And yeah, if you activate Weather Reading, then Snow Squall only needs one, like, basically water to do 30 spread. Alright, next, Sunny Cast Form.
This one. This one in particular, I think, is going to open up Fire Mill as an archetype.
Okay.
Because this combos incredibly well with Magmortar. And cards like Magmortar, I think, the Squirtapod, I think is what it is, the Fire Scorpion thing as well.
Oh, Centiskorch?
Yeah. Because, like, this is attachment from the discard pile, so after you use Magmortar for, like, a gajillion, you can just shove them all back with Cast Form X and do it again.
Okay.
And also, in between that, the Cast Form is also milling a lot of cards. Probably mill like 30 cards in like a period of 2 turns, 3 turns, without any issues.
I think Magmortar's a good call there. Good combo. Definitely.
Yeah, or you could start with Cast Form and then go into, if you can get enough fire into the discard pile.
Which
you're
probably
very hard.
I was gonna say you're probably already running Battle Compressor and maybe Professor's Research in a Cast Form core deck.
Yeah, and like Ultra Balls and stuff like that while you're searching energy from your deck.
Also, you know, Cast Form wants some Stadium cards, and you could play Scorched Earth like you said, and also Viridian Forest, and start getting those counts in. The fact that Viridian Forest says discard a card, and that includes another Stadium, also is very helpful. And then, yeah, each of your Fire and Colors Pokemon do 10 more damage. Definitely not something to scoff at, especially we talked about Camerupt being able to give you damage you might need. And then anytime you heal those Pokemon, they heal 10 more. Alright.
Definitely really good.
Next we got Kecleon level X.
Oh yeah, this is a fun one I was looking at.
Yeah, so as often as you like during your turn, reveal a Pokemon from your hand, put it into your deck. If you do, search your deck for an energy card that matches that Pokemon. If the Pokemon was colorless, you get a special energy card. And then Lash Grip, if the defending Pokemon is an EX, does 20 more, and they're paralyzed.
Yeah, and the fact that this is a basic, too, and it's all types at the same time.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't have 20 or more.
It now has a solid attack that it can use with that type color. That alone is really good.
Oh, you don't like Quadruple Smash? No, I know you do. It's Quadruple Smash can just destroy
it's
sweepers.
A Russian roulette, but
you just have to be
Lash Grip attack is just guaranteed tons of damage, and if you play Vileplume with it now, like this card just essentially knocks out everything with Lash Grip.
It
doesn't paralyze it and kill it the next turn.
If it doesn't paralyze, that's an interesting point. Is before modifiers, Lash Grip is hitting for weakness now and resistance, so probably about 60. It's like a DCE for 60 before other things.
Yeah.
But yeah, Vileplume, and now you're gonna have to be crafty about reactivating Colorful Body. But so you mentioned Kecleon and Vileplume. So if you use Kecleon's power, you could shuffle in your other grass Pokemon and get grass energy. But if you shuffle in a colorless Pokemon, the fact that you can get any special energy, which includes the herbal, the special grass that heals 30, that could be your swinger. Like if you just need to heal off some chip damage to reactivate. And one last thing, with Im-Attack, you do need the cost. But if you're running a lot of colorless Pokemon, just grab your Rainbow or grab a special energy that fits that cost.
Yeah, and also there's this special normal energy that I think it does like 10 or 20 more damage.
Yeah, powerful energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Alright, next. Mega Bayonet. So classic Pokemon.
Classic.
Yeah, already. Steven pushed this Pokemon a lot. He kind of showed the power of level up, and then the second your opponent attaches an energy, you can play Escape Rope or Enhanced Hammer, and it can just ruin your opponent's turn.
Oh yeah, no, you can trip your opponent up pretty hard with this card.
You can just red card them while they're trying to take their turn. And then Temper Tantrum's really good. You just openly discard, put damage counters, and then you can Darkness Switch, move that all to the opponent. Alone is really good. It can do 70 and then 90 with the Mega Buff. There are so many ways to look at your opponent's hand. So there's definitely an outlet where you can just stream Alone. Like, you're not even doing a bunch of prankster stuff, but definitely a pretty versatile Pokemon. Okay. So we got Tropius level X. Tropius was already actually gaining pretty good usage traction last year, thanks to players like P. Murphy. He was kind of pushing how strong Tropius is as a lead with Blessed Fruit, but mid-late game, Solar Beam just flat out does 100, and there's no resistance now. Now we got a level X for Tropius, and what do you think,
Ryan? To play this turn 2 is pretty good. No, I thought the ability was very bizarre, because I don't know as far as berry cards what's actually in the game. I know there's some old print ones that are kind of insane.
I'll tell you the ones that you can like look in Highlander for the most part is Memory Berry. Citrus Berry, which is Potion as a tool. And then there is Lumberry, which gets rid of any special condition.
Okay, so that's actually pretty good then.
And I'd as of the database,
giving Tropius or like anything protection that you need against.
Oh, and like you said, there's some older berries. Definitely, the database will have Balloon Berry in there too.
For the free or the retreat cost reduction.
Okay, so I don't know if you. Here's an initial combo. That you could do. I don't know if you are like getting ready for playing a deck like this, but now that you know of all these different berries, those are all tool cards. So you could actually level up, grab like 9 tools, and then you're running Coffagrigus with Chuck, and you just kind of
Oh my gosh! Yeah, you could just do that.
You're kind of, for a DCE, you're kind of probably knocking out most Pokemon. With Chuck, you're grabbing 9 tools.
And not to mention, like, you're using an ability to help thin out your deck.
Yeah.
To where you're just, and you can just do this on the fly.
Well, and those berries.
It's a basic Pokemon, and this is just its ability.
Right. Well, and the berries, like I said, one heals 30, one uses previous attacks, which Pokemon like Flygon love. And then one gets rid of conditions. And getting rid of special conditions is pretty good in Highlander overall. So.
Yeah, no, this is good.
Yeah, and then his attack, all healing is doubled until the end of your next turn. So 1 potion is now 60.
Super potion is 120.
Yeah. Yeah. Alright, next, Chimecho level X. So, Ryan actually kind of put Chimecho on the forefront this past year with Chingling.
There's a reason why I had to get nerfed a couple times.
And now, damage counters cannot be moved or placed onto your Pokemon by your opponent's card effects. And then
very nice, because there's so much stuff that does that.
Oh, I mean, Gengar's Curse, stuff like that. Placed. So that stops like Greninja and like Meowscarda.
Gosh, Chimecho actually works well with Cacturne X2.
Oh yeah, that's oh my gosh.
Card as an attack.
And then Resonance Quake is like a trainer Poltergeist for 1 Psychic. So, there's ways you can scout out the opponent's hand, and you could probably just do 60 for 1 energy. So. And
pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, Chingling's already providing spread damage too. So. Okay, next. So Mega Absol. So this is a favorite amongst Ryan and PJ.
Classic for sure.
Absol's Poke Power, Cursed Eye, moving 3 damage counters on demand is really big. There's crucial plays you can do. Baleful Wind is good disruption. Mach Claw is just reliable damage that pierces through resistance and does place a damage counter. That can stack for 1 more damage counter, and then Mega Absol just makes it even more blunt, where it's like, oh, here's Mach Claw for 60, not counting Special Darkness, and then if you try to do any effect from an attack, the effect happens to you.
Yeah, and that I think is going to come. The Magic Bounce is definitely going to come up. I think more in this format, for sure.
Yeah, tons of outlets that tries to like poison or burn you, and now it'll do it to the opponent instead. So, all right, next we got Mega Glalie. This is actually a card Greg used to play a lot in early Highlander, because Glalie had the Pokebody that was -20 from evolutions, but Rec just did 70 if there was a stadium.
70 for 2 colorless.
And then you add the Mega
makes it 90.
90, and now all water becomes water, or all colorless becomes water. I am gonna do a quick update on that energy typo. That's an old remnant, but it's all good. But what that does is it converts your colorless into water for Intimidation Pebble, which now opens an outlet for quickly disrupting your opponent's trainer and supporter cards. So it's pretty big too. Alright, next. So we got Walrein level X.
This is one of those I was kind of concerned about. Because what card? Gosh, man. 10 HP for each water energy attached to all your Pokemon. With the amount of water energy excel in this format, I would not be surprised if I see a 300 HP Walrein out in the field.
Well, and regular Walrein's power is built in. Yeah.
Oh my god, I forgot about that power. Wow.
And then,
this card speaks for itself.
Yeah, you got Ice Bind.
I don't really need to go into detail on this.
The one thing I'll mention is I think you're the type of player that's going to try to push the cold line, but I want to see how you do it.
Yeah, no, I fully expect
but you have to exactly have +5. So if your opponent has like a 4 or 5 card hand, you got to get to 10 and not play.
That's not hard. I've been playing Tornadus long enough to know that.
Okay. I want to see it, so I'm not doubting you. I want to see people push the game for sure.
So this is both players have to have 5 cards in their hand?
You need 5 more cards than your opponent.
Oh, okay, yeah, that. I guess it kind of helps counteract its own being able to shove all your energy onto it. As like a balancing.
Though there's also ice.
Trade-off.
He's got Ice Bind, which makes your opponent discard 2 unless they want to be paralyzed.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting. My thing about Cold Line is you could always Talonflame or red card them or end them, and then try to find a way to get cards into your hand to get the knockout.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of the crazy ones, though.
Alright, so next is Huntail level X. So Huntail, it's got a Pokebody similar to, like, Samurott.
Yeah, I like what you did with both Gourbias and Huntail. I think these are really good level X form changes for him.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, go ahead. Keep talking. Got an overview. I will say we've brought up Huntail in the past because people like to run decks with like Ho-Oh or just Mass Xerneas energy decks, and Powerful Storm just can start really stacking for no energy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then yes,
or if like Vance tries to pull that Mountain Lunge Pulse.
And then with Threaten and Drop, that works for like 1 rainbow. And then you just get rid of all special energy cards attached to defending Pokemon. But yeah, with Hunting Plan, all you need is an active water Pokemon while taking a prize. And then you place a Prey counter on one of your opponent's EX, and then the next time Huntail attacks a Pokemon with a Prey counter, that Pokemon's just going to be knocked out. That includes from the bench, so...
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah. And the fact that Powerful Storm is for 0, you just need 1 energy. Alright, so next is Gorbis level X.
This card got me pretty excited.
Okay, go ahead, Ryan.
I think it was the... Yeah, evolve all your Pokemon from your deck.
Uh-huh.
That's just... how easy this card is to get out, like, early on in the game. And just being able to do that is insane. Of course, you do need to get semi set up with enough basics to make it justifiable, but I don't think any of that's difficult. And then placing 1 damage counter on all your opponent's Pokemon on top of that, like just getting everything set up it's just a really good card.
Yeah, Chakra Flow is going to be really good with decks that run like Greninja.
This is what, just Energy Excel?
Well, you get its retrieval. So once per turn, you get Water and Psychic both. You get 2 basic to your hand. And then if you look at like regular Gorbis, like Psychic Snap, any card regardless from your discard pile, so you can keep getting back Lysander or Guzma. And then Psychic Bolt, just you flip for paralysis, but if they use a power next turn, they take 20. Any Pokemon, anytime they use a power, they'll take 20. Sweet Temptation is a 0-cost pull-up attack, and that just punishes them for each energy. So if they try to stack a counter attacker, you can just pull them up pretty early on. And if they somehow KO Gorbis, you've already been evolving your bench, so you might have like a counter to the counter.
Yeah, you might have a freaking arsenal set up by the time.
Well, and last thing I'll mention is water decks have stuff like Brooklet Hill, so you can really get your bench going pretty fast. Oh
yeah, that's right. Forgot about that stadium.
All right, next is Relicanth level X. So yeah, with Relicanth, you basically you and your opponent are recycling tool cards, and you both attach them to a Pokemon. So choose 1 Pokemon tool card in your opponent's discard pile, attach it to one of your opponents. You get to choose, by the way. So what happens is you get your Float Stone or Assault Vest back, but you also grab like your opponent's, like let's say Vitality Band, and you put it on a Pokemon just to make it an EX. Or you put it on a Pokemon that might not be wanting to use that tool card much, they might not be attacking. And if you look at regular Relicanth, he's got Grand Swell, and so for every tool and stadium card your opponent has, does 20 more damage on top of 10 to any of your opponent's Pokemon. So you can really start doing a lot for one fighting there. And then Abyss Crash is 1 for 60, put a card in your hand into the Lost Zone. If the defending Pokemon's knocked out, search your deck for any 1 card, put it into the Lost Zone. Now you think, oh wow, that's a lot of recoil. It's like, well, first off, yeah, 1 for 60 on a basic.
On a basic, yeah, that goes into an X.
But who's not to say that your opponent or the Relicanth player is running like Mirage Gate or Lost Zone cards? What if they want to put that card in the Lost Zone just from getting a knockout?
Also, it's not always a bad thing to shove a card from your deck into the Lost Zone that you really don't need for the matchup. Or,
that's a good point.
Like you don't want to draw into. Just helps thin out the deck.
Yeah. So Relicanth was already a good lead for Lost Zone decks with Prehistoric Wisdom.
Like Sigilyph might like this card.
Oh, good point. Yeah, Salvage setup.
I mean, Chuck from.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, with Chuck, it has to be in the hand, but yeah, Sigilyph.
Oh yeah,
sure.
No, this attaches to a Pokemon. Yes.
Yep. But that
Sigilyph's
just
like that.
That's literally a free Float Stone if they keep getting rid of it. So.
Yeah.
All right, next is Love Disc level X.
This card I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
It's a little bizarre. Yeah, I mean, it definitely has very niche use. But, I mean, it's pretty good when you can actually use this card.
Well, the power is pretty straightforward. Pretty good for water decks.
Universal Energy, or Universal Pokemon, or Water. Gosh.
That's all right,
Water Pokemon Search.
Water Search. But yeah, with Seafair Share, think of how many times people Collector, Roseanne's, like Nest Ball. Now you get that as early as turn 2.
Yeah, that's pretty good. This is like one of those really good starting Pokemon.
Well, yeah, Love Disc is already a strong lead with like her like regular form. The fact that if you have Brooklet Hill out, like a stadium, you're doing 10 spread for 1 water. And then the fact that Synchro Dance only has to have you match the amount of energy. It's not the kind. So if the defending Pokemon only has 1 energy and you have 1, you're doing 50.
80 or 50 damage, yeah.
Yeah. And then yeah, even game. It's basically like a bunch of call for families, and it's a +1 on your opponent's count. So you could run. What is the card? Challenge. Do you accept my challenge? And
gosh.
I wonder how they'll respond to that, because you do have even game anyway. Will they give you the 2, or will they let you do it? So yeah, it'll be really interesting. We'll see what crazy stuff Seafair Share might copy. I definitely applaud people that will start taking those risks, like level up, retreat, or switch, and now you just have open copycat searching the rest of the game as long as Love Disc is out.
Yeah, I mean, you can literally just pull that out, have it as a bench sitter the whole game, and just keep using that body.
All while you search for water Pokemon every turn. So
yeah, pretty good.
All right, so
it's a classic.
Yeah, one of Ryan's favorites, Salamence level X, and just Salamence in general. So yeah, Double Fall in Highlander. You don't play level X's from the hand, so the way it works is it's a timing window, and you're basically, yeah, when you form change to Salamence level X, the next turn, if Salamence gets a knockout, he gets 1 extra prize card. So you're giving your opponent 1 turn to respond, but sometimes you're already overwhelming them with Salamence that they might not have much to respond with.
Yeah, no, sometimes this thing just comes out and it just wrecks the field. And also just pulling it out at a time when your opponent already has a Pokemon with more HP out. You just avoid killing that one Pokemon and just kill everything else. Just so you can keep the energy cost low.
I was say, you're basically the Salamence expert, so you've done a lot of different strategies with him. And...
Well, I've been able to splash this card into quite a few decks too, not just Dragon or Water. There's been times where I've played it in decks that don't even run either of those energy, but they have like some sort of blend of energy. You just throw it down for 1 energy if your opponent has a Pokemon with high enough HP, and you just swing with it.
Yeah, because so Battle Rush comes from the Stormfront Salamence, and back then, that was the format where SP Pokemon were big, and so Battle Rush wasn't activated as much. But in Highlander, there's Pokemon all over the place in terms of HP and what they do, and so the average Highlander game, I mean, Ryan will tell you, I think most decks on average will probably at least have 1 Pokemon with an HP like that, maybe. There are decks like Michael's that they're very nimble and fast, but even he runs Raichu Break. Excuse me, and Raichu Break does hit that number. So Battle Rush really starts letting you stream some high damage pretty fast. And then next is Mega Salamence, I think another favorite of Ryan.
Oh yeah. I like this card a lot.
It's literally like, Steam Twister.
A lot of times I actually use this more in the level X.
Okay.
Just because the added damage, honestly. Because sometimes that's what you need.
Plus 30. Once you get a DCE or any type of colorless energy, it's plus 30 with Aerolate. It's already plus 20 from Mega Buff. And the fact that your DCEs cannot be enhanced hammered is pretty nice. So yeah, now you mentioned it earlier, powerful energy, the plus 10 special colorless.
Yeah,
that's really good for Mega Salamence there too as well. So definitely something to keep out on. Ton of high damage potential for sure. Next is Mega Metagross. We've brought up Metagross a lot, and now we're finally covering him in the video. He's good with Machamp, he's good with Rampardos, he's good with Lunatone, and now I want to talk about how good he is as his own attacker. Because you Mega Metagross, thanks to Tough Claws, you're doing plus 30. Damage can't be reduced, and after 1 extra Comet Punch, you're streaming 130 damage that can't be reduced. And Gravitation pulls HP down by 20, and Magnetic Reversal could theoretically pull up anyone if you flip heads, on the bench.
It's kind of fun messing with this and Lunatone together.
Yeah.
For like a minus 30 HP across the board.
Yup.
You gotta be kind of careful with that, but there are scenarios like now, we have Claydol X.
Oh, yeah.
And we might be seeing some really nasty combos with that Metagross, Lunatone all together.
Yeah, I see it as you Claydol X first, and then play your Metagross to lower the HP. Yeah, now they're in the, was it 50 HP kill zone, like KO zone now.
And anything can be Toy Catchered at that point.
Oh, that's a really good point. So yeah, Mega Metagross, a lot of fun, 150 HP. I mean, he, like I said, he could be his own sweeper. Just the fact that extra Comet Punch is going to start doing a lot of damage by the next turn. So what you want to do usually is you Magnetic Reversal, pull up something that gets KO'd for 80 damage, and now you have the extra 50 every time, as long as he stays active. And yeah, you just hopefully freely keep pulling up bench Pokemon. Because what I did, because you know I played a lot of Iron Champion, Metagross, Machamp back in 2010, 2011, is that if you flip Tails, you often are playing Reversal, or you know obviously Lysander, so you have other outs. So, all right, next Regirock level X. So yeah, all your fighting become a Stone Energy. All your fighting energy basically become -10 to your Pokemon.
Yeah, I was looking at these. These all were pretty good.
Yeah, and then yeah, go ahead, Ryan. Yeah.
See, so this was the 10 less damage. Yep. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting just having non-EX Pokemon with that damage reduction. But you benefit from like a Stone Energy or a Special Metal, essentially.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be attached to a fighting Pokemon. It's just flat out your basic fighting energy is -10.
Yeah.
So Garchomp now gets a -10, you know, with that.
Splashable damage reduction if you're playing the type.
Yeah, and then obviously Cataclysmic Cave-In is a very good anti-EX. All the Regis are pretty good at being anti-EX. I mean, the Regi trio. Regigigas isn't really about anti-EX, but...
Yeah, it's nice having a 30 spread damage across the board on EXs.
Oh, it's 40.
Energy cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 10 spread, but 30 more. And then, yeah, regular Regirock has Regicycle. So, you say for 2, but it could be for 1, just because of Regicycle.
Yeah.
And then, you know, he's got Unyielding Rock and Stone Edge. So, yeah, you could just do some spread and then just start knocking out with regular Regirock's attacks, all while he's taking a lot less damage because of his Pokebody if he has the energy. Alright, next is Regice EX, or Level X. It has the same type of Pokebody as Regirock, but for water energy. And then Sub-Zero Shatter says, place 5 damage counters on your opponent's EX Pokemon in any way you like. Discard all energy attached to the Pokemon that had damage counters placed this way. Steven has played a lot of Regice last year. And Ryan will tell you that he has to contemplate, do I want to hit into Regice and get hit by Ice Reflect?
And the answer is usually no.
And now he's got a Pokebody that does -10 for water, and you know, we were covering earlier some of these very tanky water Pokemon like Wailord or Walrein, and if you play Regice level X, they're now taking -10 for each of those energy. I'm sure Blastoise appreciates a Pokebody like this.
Oh, yeah.
And then Sub-Zero Shatter, that can just shut down counter picks. Like, your opponent's trying to set up a big EX to take down one of your Pokemon. You can place those damage counters there and then get rid of all their energy. So,
pretty good.
Alright, so Registeel, level X. Again, his Pokebody is the same as the other two, but for Metal. Now Basic Metal is basically Special Metal. And then
because it needs more damage reduction.
That's pretty good. So choose one of your opponent's EX Pokemon. This attack does 10 damage times the total amount of metal energy and tool cards attached to all of your Pokemon.
Yeah, that's really, really strong, especially late game.
Okay. Yeah.
Anti-Sigilyph.
Oh, well, I mean, that's more of like, that's for...
Or yeah, you play that with Sigilyph.
Yeah, play with, yeah. Or there's that Revavroom, the new metal Pokemon.
Oh, yeah, the Revavroom. He really looked into that card very much, but
he's similar to Sigilyph. He gets multiple tools attached to him as well, so you can run both.
Wow, you could really stack.
Yeah.
And of course, so a lot of the berry cards are tools, right?
All of them are, yeah.
Okay. I guess you can't have 2 EXs.
And then something to note is that because all the metals are now special metal, basically, that already works with Registeel having Regi heal. And he basically can become his own, like, really big attacker, especially how he's anti-EX with Forbidden Iron Hammer and Armament Assault. Rotating Claws just lets you... I mean, Rotating Claws is cool because it's a witty way to get your special metals if you wanted to do that. So we've seen Registeel in the past because of Eli, aka Psykid, who's ran it with Reuniclus and Copper Raja, just a free, heal 30. So definitely looking forward to seeing some Registeel plays in the future.
Oh yeah. Also,
yeah, I noticed my typo there. Registeel. That's all good.
Registeel.
There you go, yeah. Alright, so Mega Latias.
Another classic.
Yeah, another classic. Cannot be affected by effects from your opponent's attacks. Reduce damage done to Mega Latias by your opponent's fighting Pokemon by 10. But also regular Latias, reduces damage by 20 to any of your Pokemon that have... from your opponent's Pokemon that have power bodies. Energy Assist is just great acceleration. With the Mega, it's 1 for 40. You're taking minus 20 from a lot of Pokemon. And then Mist Ball can just get the crucial KOs you might be looking for. There's witty ways to stream that, by the way. You could run Naganadel and Hydreigon to move that up. You could run Miss Magius to move Psychic Energy around. Regular...
I've always liked this as a starting card, just because Energy Assist is such a good initial attack to start with.
Yeah. Well, and it takes a little bit for them to take Latias down with the body, and you can run Eviolite or Fighting Fury Belt, so... Yep. Alright, so next is Latios. So we have Mega Latios here. Again, same ability as Mega Latias. So it's just very good against, fighting Pokemon. But also just can't be affected by effects of your opponent's attacks. That includes, like, Machamp's Takeout. Or like Boltund trying to knock out an EX from its attack. And so with Mega Latios, we actually had one of our players online, Quick. He was playing a Latios deck last year. And
hitting it with its 130 damage attack.
Well, what you do is you blitz them, you get out Latios turn 1, and then you play Victini. And so you have a 75% shot just to attach DCE from the deck.
Oh, man.
And
so
then...
really rush this thing.
Yeah, by next turn you're doing Luster Purge. And the deck ran Naganadel and Hydreigon. And so while you're pressuring them, once those guys are set up, you're streaming Dragon Energy back onto Latios. That, by the way, you can just recycle, with Rescue Stretcher or Rescue Carrier. And the fact that Luster Float gives Latios a pivot, yeah, very strong. I think Latios is still pretty underrated, for sure. Okay, so we got, by category, Mega Kyogre. He's called Primal Kyogre, obviously in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. They are, like, the Mega Evolutions of this Pokemon.
Been out for a long time, too.
And so, yeah, they are Mega form changes for Kyogre and Groudon. And so, yeah, Primal Kyogre. Kyogre's been played a lot, not just this year, but in the past.
Great starting card.
Very good. Yeah, go ahead, Ryan, if you have anything to say.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, Drizzle's always been really good. Attach Water Energy from your hand. And then, even like 1 or 2 turns in, even start to Dual Splash. Getting chip damage in on multiple Pokemon early on is really good.
Oh yeah, Dual Splash is insane.
I haven't used its Mega too much. It comes up occasionally. But yeah, for the most part, Kyogre is just a really good start Pokemon.
I have seen definitely, like, if they lead Kyogre, they will drizzle their own Kyogre, and then by turn 2, you Primal Kyogre, and then you High Tide for 90 damage, and then 20 spread.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And then, when you look at Primordial Sea, buffs your water Pokemon, lets grass heal 10 more, and then nerfs fire Pokemon by 10 damage when they attack. So definitely a huge matchup swinger, and like you said, great lead. Regular Kyogre, you can just slap an Eviolite, and he might live for almost the whole game if they don't do something about it. You know? So you can switch him out and stuff like that. Alright, next is we got Primal Groudon, aka Mega Groudon, for his form change.
He has the same essential ability as Kyogre, right?
Yes, well, Desolate Land,
very similar.
Yeah, it's like swapping the fire and water, but grass benefits from both of them, so.
Okay, yeah, I've used this several times in fighting decks.
A lot, yeah. Well, not just you, but
lots
Gage.
Of damage.
Oh yeah, early game drought pressures the opponent, and we've seen Gage play Groudon as well recently. Giant Claw just will start taking knockouts. This is one of those Pokemon you mentioned. There are spread Pokemon that work well with Pokemon that only need 1 or 2 damage marked on the Pokemon. And so,
yeah, and just having that out on the board, getting Pokemon like this out is nice.
Oh yeah, and then Major Earthquake is, I mean, that's probably getting rid of most Pokemon if you're running Mega Groudon, Primal Groudon, doing 130, and dual typing. So now you get Fire and Fighting, so there's a lot of ability benefits, and then Strong Energy becomes Fire if you need that to happen, and Fire Energy, you know, what's interesting is Burning Energy becomes Fighting. So you can Burning, yeah, you can Burning to Major Earthquake. But yeah, with dual typing, he gets the +10 bonus from Stonejourner, and then he also gets the +10 bonus from Cherim. So this is one of those, I actually quote you a lot, Ryan. There's some stuff that people need to value. I'm not saying they don't, but players need to look at the value of what the extra deck can do for utility, and it includes like changing your type. Like, oh, you're weak to fire? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll change that real quick.
Yeah. All right. Next, we got Mega Rayquaza.
Another class.
Very. He actually, Greg.
This is an OG.
Greg and PJ were kind of noting at the last tournament, like not just an OG, but like not changed. You know?
Oh yeah, completely unchanged, but it doesn't really need a change because
pretty balanced. Pretty.
Yeah, it stayed. Yeah, just being completely fine in this format. Vance still proving that to this day.
Yeah, and he used Mega Rayquaza last tournament because there's times he needs the extra 20, but he also did it because Delta Stream stops all abilities that increase, decrease, or heal damage.
That's pretty good.
Very, yeah, against a lot of those tank decks, and yeah, all the colorless Pokemon have no weakness. In fact, PJ played Fairy, a lot of Fairy Pokemon, and Mega Rayquaza helped out because of that weakness there. And so we will briefly mention that Vance pushed Rayquaza having good synergy with Pokemon like Arcanine and Flareon, who can move fire energy around. But also you could run, Pokemon like Magnezone that can move lightning energy around. So there's definitely a lot of Pokemon that just like love having Rayquaza as this energy acceleration battery, even if it's just to himself. The fact that you can speed gain for like 4 in a row sometimes is really good, and then Sky Judgment just gets rid of most Pokemon in the format unless they have some ability or something that can stop that type of damage.
Yeah, overall really good card. Yeah,
and the fact that you can just attach 1 Lightning and Dragon Pulse for 50 with the Mega, also pretty good. So
yeah,
get in that discard from the top could be Fire or Lightning. So all right, Jirachi level X.
This card is really neat, a little bit risky.
Yeah.
But I do like the design of it. Let's see. Oh yeah, this has like a free heads on a coin flip.
Uh-huh.
That's pretty good. I think it was the attack. Okay, yeah, so this is essentially a, what's the new Jump Bluff?
Oh, very similar, yeah. Lost March.
Yeah, this is essentially Lost March. I mean, it kind of even stays in line with that, with its HP and everything. I like it for Wish Fountain quite a bit. If you just want to have it as a passive thing. So the first coin flip always being heads. Yeah. There's some attacks that are out there that are paralysis on a coin flip. And this just allows that every single time. Like it for that. And Jirachi's always been a good starting card just because of DQer.
Oh yeah, we've seen Jirachi a decent amount lately.
Yeah, and now that it has this, we're probably going to be seeing it a fair amount more too.
Yeah,
we're looking forward to seeing this being messed with.
I could see, I mean, Steven's been pushing Lost Zone strategies. He could detour for Colress's experiment. He could, I mean, there are times I could see him do a Jirachi level X Force of Beyond play just to do like 100, because if he's running a Mirage Gate deck, then he could definitely start ramping up attacks there. And the fact that you get 2 of any card from your discard pile, yeah, I think a player like Steven could definitely push the potential here. But like you said, Wish Fountain's something not to scoff at. You could, if your Jirachi is basically untouched after you lead with him, you could just level up, switch, or retreat. And now the rest of the game, if you need that crucial Pokemon catcher flip or something, you know, a crushing hammer, you can always decide for it to be heads.
Yeah, just guarantee it.
Yep. Super scoop up. Alright, and so the last Pokemon, Deoxys level X, he has 3 form changes.
Yeah, this I'm glad Deoxys has got this much utility added to it.
Okay.
Because I have very rarely seen Deoxys played throughout the years.
I will say Jate played him.
That's going to change it.
Ironically, Jate did play Deoxys last year with a cast form deck because you close encounter for up to 3 stadiums.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's a decision you can make.
With Shuffle Armor, so he would grab like BTS Chaos Gym and some, like maybe another BTS. You know, something like that. Yeah, he grabs Chaos Gym, by the way. So.
Oh no.
So yeah, he has 3 different forms. So the attack form is just, you know, pretty straightforward.
Damage.
You're plus 20, shred, discard all energy. So after the modifiers, Chromatic Crash is doing 90 shred's really good, but
and it's really good on a basic, especially with only 2 energy cost. This
is
something we don't have until now in this game.
And I brought this up.
That can just shred out of the blue.
Yeah, shred out of the blue. I brought this up to Ryan earlier before the broadcast, or before the video, and it's actually kind of similar to when he used to play the Plasma Deoxys. There's a similar strategy where mid-late game, people could be thrown off by you actually attacking with Deoxys, and in this case what you do is you can recover Deoxys with Stretcher, or Rescue Carrier, and then just like attack form, energy burst for 0, and it's doing who knows how much. You know, you're doing at least 30 initial, but if it's a big attacker with like 4 or 5 energy on him, that's, you know, plus 40, plus 50 for 0 energy.
Also great early game rushdown. Really good early pressure.
I agree, because we'll cover with the other forms. Overdrive Smash, sometimes you don't need that discard because you can just do Overdrive Smash, and now you're streaming 80 damage. With the attack form, going right into the defense form, you notice his HP is definitely higher. He takes 20 less now instead of doing 20 more.
Yeah, it takes 140 to take down a basic.
And then Helix Barrier stops damage and effects from an EX hitting Deoxys.
That's just amazing, because there's just so many EX things in this format. And just having that is awesome.
Yeah, and
just as an option, it's really good.
Oh, yeah. Well, and the fact that you're probably going to be getting your opponent to build up a non-EX, and if they can't KO Deoxys, they have to worry about Energy Burst, you know, for 0. So that's definitely something. I mean, close encounter. You know, you might be playing Defense Deoxys level X just to keep grabbing your supporters and stadium cards with Shuffle Armor.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's something you could do.
What you could grab Lieutenant Surge's strategy and 2 other supporters, and
oh yeah, wow.
You get stadiums like Chaos Gym.
Surge.
Yeah, just stuff like that. Again, Overdrive Smash is really good, because here's the thing. Here's something I'll point out. Like you said with Cast Form's utility, So we'll go to speed, and then I'm gonna cover something too. So with
I like speed too.
yeah, so Speed Deoxys grants you a free retreat. It's basically a switch. Speed Deoxys level X is saying when you retreat with this guy, it doesn't count as your once retreat per turn, and you can do it while you're asleep or paralyzed. And then you get to do 30 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. You may switch Deoxys with one of your.
You got spread options on this thing now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you think, Ryan? Yeah, of speed.
No, I just like how much utility Deoxys has now to do whatever situation it needs to do as a starting Pokemon.
Which,
and actually, even as a mid to late game,
yeah, mid late.
Like if your opponent's set up, you go into defense form while they have all these EXs out, and well, hit this thing.
Yeah, or I've seen it like when you used to play Genesect EX. Imagine they have 2 Pokemon with only 30 HP left. You know, like
yeah, and you can just KO them.
Yeah, and so what I was going to bring up is I think the skill ceiling of playing Deoxys is really high. And one thing, like you said, with the different form changes is, here's the mindset I'll say. Do I need to do 90 damage? Yes? Okay, go to attack Deoxys, get that KO. Do I only need to do 50 damage? Go to defense Deoxys and really take some momentum. Do I need to do bench damage or retreat, go to speed Deoxys? You know, there's all these different play-by-plays you can do.
Yeah, no, I really like this. Let's see, sorry, I lost my train of thought again.
No, it's alright. Yeah, Deoxys just has a lot of options. Regular Deoxys, you know, he's got great retrieval. Overdrive Smash can actually start sweeping, especially if they don't like contest it and start streaming 60 for 2 energy. Energy Burst is something the opponent always has to keep in mind. And yeah, it's just great with the form changes.
Oh yeah, they all have different retreat cost as well.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, that being said, thanks Ryan for doing this overview.
Yeah, no problem. It was a good overview, and I even learned some things. Well, just being in the call, because I didn't quite look at every card in depth. I looked at most of them, but it's going to be interesting.
Exactly. I don't mean to interrupt you. Yeah, I'm just very much agreeing with you that we have new players, and then we have players that are really wanting to show up to a lot of tournaments this year. So keep going. I just want to.
Oh, it's good.
Yeah. So again, yeah. Thanks, Ryan, for joining me. As this will help a lot. Like I said, I've had people on my broadcast just this past week asking questions already. People are already trying to brainstorm new strategies, and so this
this set of Pokemon coming out is probably going to change the format pretty drastically.
Okay, it'll be interesting. Yeah, go ahead, Ryan. You can end with some.
Neat. Looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah, and so I mean, with that being said, you know, we're about to do an online monthly soon, and then an in-person in January. There'll be 24 monthly tournaments, but also people will play online in non-tournament games, and you know, we could have get-togethers in the future. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Again, thanks Ryan for joining me, and thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys around. Have a good one.
See y'all later.